about these reviews, Olivia, is that you could watch the whole movie in the time it takes you guys to review them, half of them.
Yes, yes, I
Not
know.
all of
I'm
them,
I'm so
like,
aware of it, but at this point
that's why it's so
there's
funny.
nothing that I can do about it.
No,
And this is going to be a beast to edit because this is the third meeting that I've had about this movie.
but we've spent 5
Yeah.
hours talking about Napoleon Dynamite, if you will.
Hi. You want to say hi?
She gonna join us? Please say
I
yes.
think she probably has a lot of thoughts about Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, I
She's never
bet.
seen it, but I think she just knows. She just understands it.
She has to. She's, like, literally born and raised Idaho.
Yeah, I'm starting your motor. Say hi.
Did you know there's some Idahoans that haven't actually seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Really, that's so interesting.
Yeah, like, that
Give
just
me one
boggles me.
example.
Well, I have this friend, her name's Whitney. I think you might also know
Uh-huh.
her. And she was born
Uh-huh.
and raised
Did
in
she has
Idaho.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And she
Interesting.
hadn't seen Napoleon Dynamite until, like, literally the other day.
Wow, that's so weird. That's so weird of her.
Like, I cannot fathom. I'm pretty sure I watched that when I was a kid or when I was somewhat young,
Uh-huh.
which, maybe makes it funnier to me than you know what? No, it doesn't make it funnier than it already is. It
No, I think it holds up no matter what stage of life you watch it. If
Yeah,
it's your humor, you'll think it's funny, you know?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I know I say this about every movie, but this is the one that I really mean. Napoleon Dynamite is the greatest movie of all time.
I actually somewhat agree with that. What's fun, for viewers who don't know, we and our other friend Whitney and my friend Traniece watched Napoleon Dynamite yesterday. That was a good time, and we were gonna get the whole gang together and do the four screens thing. But then
Mhm.
because of circumstances that were primarily my fault, but not entirely my
Yeah,
fault,
not entirely.
um, it might just be the two of us. There might be three or four eventually, but for now, it's just us. But anyway, I feel like I was going to say something to your point of like when whenever you get the time to just sit down and watch it, it is pretty funny.
Mhm.
Oh, no, I remember what it was. The
Oh,
reason that some Whitneys have not seen it all the way through, despite having being raised in Idaho, um, is that sometimes maybe let's like set up an imaginary situation that totally didn't happen to any Whitneys that are here or gone, but you can imagine it happening where she's watching Napoleon Dynamite because it's on the TV on like one of the five cable channels that you have, when you're a
uh-huh.
kid in Idaho.
Mhm.
And it's like, going pretty well. But then perhaps her dad comes in and is like, hey, you should mow the lawn. And she's like, can't I do it later because it's really hot out? And he says, no, you should probably do it right now because I asked you to and I'm your dad. And so then it's like, you have to listen to your dad. So you go out and mow the lawn and then you don't finish the rest of the movie until you're grown. Oh, Harriet, that is not the place.
I mean, what an Idaho thing, first of all.
Hmm. I know
What?
that's what I'm saying. It's like that could be something that happens in the movie. Like the second most Idaho thing of all time is that you've seen Napoleon Dynamite, only because the first most Idaho thing is that you haven't seen it because you had to go mow the lawn.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
I was trying to think earlier of an acronym for today. I couldn't think of any.
Um,
The T could be for tots.
oh, obviously, but also Tina.
Mhm.
Tina's
Oh
tots.
yeah, yeah, Tina, you fat lard. Yeah.
Yeah, what is S? S is a letter. It sounds like and sometimes
Hmm. S is a fun shape as well. I
S.
mean, I don't know. Like, the thing is, to me, this movie really gives a vibe of like summertime, and they are still in school, but it's like towards the end of school. And they have especially that like ending scene where they're playing tetherball together, and the sun's kind of going down, but not really because it's summer, so it's going to take like 3 more hours until it's down, but
Mm.
you can see it hitting on the sprinklers. It's like very like Idaho summer, if you know, you know, kind of thing.
S is
So
also
I
very, I mean, S is school.
yeah, so that's the thing. S could be for school or for summer. It could be for summer, but it's
Steak.
Summer Wheatley. She's in
Oh
this
my gosh, it's
movie.
for steak.
Steak. Oh my goodness. Because there's
Yeah.
also Steak is heavily featured in this movie.
The amount of steaks that are, like, paid actors in this movie,
For real.
plus
It's the
steak
only
also
meal
the
that
other
anybody
way.
eats. Like they eat milkshake, nachos, and steak the entire movie.
Yeah,
That's it.
which, I
Yeah.
mean, that's very Idaho, except they're
Yeah.
missing no, tots are potatoes, I forget.
Lots of potatoes.
Um, yeah, but steak also as in, I would stake my life on this movie
Mm. So
because
you're
of, as
saying
I said before,
AKE
how well,
instead of
all of them, both
EAK.
of them,
Interesting. Yeah.
homonyms,
Mm-hmm.
homophones. So, we have steak, we
Mm-hmm.
have tots. This is shaping up to be a nice meal because M is for
Yeah.
milkshake.
It's-
We're
Oh, well,
just
and they eat
missing
eggs though too.
there
At
are
the
eggs.
at the chicken farm, they have egg sandwich. The problem is that it's not egg
Yeah, the
salad
egg drink.
sandwich.
It's the drink.
It's like just egg.
Yeah,
The drink that looks like orange juice, but then it turns out that it's just egg yolk, that's bad. That's quite nasty.
I would die.
That's
Like,
super bad.
ew. Okay. Paint me not Gaston because I will not be doing that.
Yeah.
Um, exciting. Quite exciting.
Hmm.
Are those them? Are we going with the food theme? Because I kind of dig it, but
It kind of
also,
seems like that's the only option, you
it
know?
might be. Yeah.
And it's also it can be something that we table and then circle back to later.
Valid.
Um, I was
This is
also
the
gonna make
ideal
a
spot.
list of like things that I wanted to talk about, but it's mostly just like outside of general vibe, like the costumes,
Yeah.
the characterization, basically just the stuff that we talked about yesterday.
Speaking of costumes, I can't get over that shirt. With the one with the airplane in the mountain.
Yeah, it's
I
so
think I need
good,
it.
right? I
Yeah.
think you might need it. Is it on the Oh, another fun fact for those who don't know. While we were watching the movie, Trinice looked up where to get all these shirts because Napoleon Dynamite is like fly. Like he wears really good outfits. Um,
I think it was
and
like
so we were
Dynamite
like,
dupes or something.
yeah, something like that, something similar to that. So anyway, there's apparently a website out there where you can buy these, and we're thinking that we might have to do so because every single character has at least one outfit that you're like, okay. But Napoleon like consistently is slaying, is what I'm saying. I have to get a cat off of a thing.
And speaking of Napoleon slaying, can we talk
Hey.
about his brown suit that I think about literally every single day of my entire life?
No, I genuinely
Like,
do too.
I
Like
can't believe.
in my dreams, sometimes like I imagine myself wearing that suit. You know what I mean? It's so good.
Uh-huh. My dreams are scary, but I could see that suit being incorporated into my dreams because also my daydreams. I daydream about that suit every single day of my life, and I think that might even
Hmm.
be the biggest part of the movie that I am so sad that other Whitney wasn't able to witness um until now. Like she just went around not knowing that suit was out there. And for me that's kind of appalling.
Yeah, it is actually tragic. Like imagine and think of all the people who have never seen this movie because it is kind of a cult classic. It is kind of like if you didn't grow up in a rural area, you don't get it the same way. Like
Yeah.
I recognize that a lot of people haven't seen it, but imagine that you had never seen it and never been able to experience every single outfit in this entire movie that's so
Yeah.
good, most especially the brown suit.
The
Like the
brown
little
suit.
blue tie, the matching blue tie, and the brown loafers. Come on.
The other outfit that I die for, I think. Well, there's so
Hmm.
many. But
Of
I'm
course.
sorry, the vote for Pedro shirt. Like,
No,
I
that's
need
a
it.
classic. That one and the yellow Rick's College one with the cactus, like a saguaro for some reason, even though they don't grow here. I see those around the most.
Hmm,
I think they're probably the most iconic Napoleon look.
that's fair. I mean, yeah, I would say iconic. I would say well known. I would say everything that relates to that term, actually.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. If you were a Napoleon shirt, which one would you be?
Now that's a good
We're gonna
question.
have to
I
like
actually
paste them
think,
all over.
yeah, we need to get like screenshots of all of them. I actually think that the bright red one that he wears to the chicken farm is actually quite underrated.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Like when you think about, I think especially because these are the iconic and popular shirts that people still wear, the Vote for
Hmm.
Pedro and the Yellow Bricks College,
Yeah,
we kind of forget about the other stuff that he wears in the movie.
it's
And the
true.
red one, like usually he's wearing kind of lighter colors, like whites and blues and the brown suit and but this one
Yeah,
really
I'm gonna
stands
do
out because it's like
quick
red?
little quick little search of Napoleon Dynamite outfits because I just need to know which ones, like all of the shirts actually. Napoleon Dynamite shirts, and I need to see every single one.
Hmm.
Um,
You got it.
holy
He's a fashion
good.
icon. It's
They're
like
so good.
he was every single person in this movie like is so ahead of their time in some way. And it's because like this I recognize that this is why. Fashion
Yeah,
is cyclical. And they're in Idaho in the early 2000s, therefore still wearing clothes from the 80s and 90s, because Idaho's a little behind the times in terms of fashion. We all know this. It also makes them ahead of their time because now in the 2020s, people are calling back to the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s with their fashion.
it's true.
People are
I mean,
thrifting a lot more, like that's really in. It's like a cool thing to do instead of just like a poor necessity thing to do, like how it used to was.
yeah.
Um,
Um, these are
but
amazing.
you see what
So
I'm saying.
what I'm hearing
The
is that
Air
Idaho
Services
is
shirt is so good.
it's simultaneously behind and ahead of the times.
Yeah, it's so behind that it actually loops back up to being ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These are really good. The PHS, the physical education shirt with their names sharpied on, those are
Hmm.
so classic.
That's a
Um,
classic. I
this is a
remember
good
doing
one.
that in like middle school. I like
Yeah,
the palm tree one, the red
it's
one with
pretty
the
good.
wolf. I mean,
The
come
red
on.
wolf one. That's the one that you're talking about that he wore in the chicken
Where it's
scene.
just like red. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
like shake the
So
chicken.
good.
Running horses,
Running
fantastic.
horses,
That's their
that's from
full
the
horse one.
very first shot when he walks out the door to get on the bus. That's what he's wearing. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, these are good shirts.
Yeah, this is the one I'm thinking of, the other horse one.
Oh, the horse one, the endurance one, that one's so funny.
Yeah. That's all the ones they have
Yes.
here. But little
Great
shout out
news for
for Dynamite
everybody.
Doug.
Great news. You can go to Dynamite Duds to buy any shirt from Napoleon Dynamite that really strikes your fancy.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Amazing. We are bringing the good tidings of the great joy. Like,
Hmm.
this is where the joy stems from,
That's true.
I think.
No pun
Yeah.
intended. Because stems, get it? Ha
I
ha
think
ha
so.
ha ha
That was good.
ha ha ha
That was
ha.
haha funny.
It was ha
Funny
ha
haha or
funny.
funny, I'm gonna have a breakdown. Um, yes, amazing. So we could talk about the clothes forever, but the point
Yes.
is, they're just too good.
They're just too good, and that's why we could talk about them forever. Summer Wheatley at the very end when she gives her speech and she's wearing that like baby pink loungewear set. So
Yeah.
ahead of her time, so iconic.
Hmm.
Um, LaFonda with her little tan sandals and like the big gold
LaFonda in
necklace,
general.
iconic. LaFonda in general, yes. I love Uncle Rico's outfit where he's got the denim on denim, but with the brown button up underneath. Now that's a look. That is
That's the
actually
one that
something I would
flew.
wear every day.
Yeah.
Brown suit maybe for special occasions, denim on denim with brown underneath for daily wear.
Yeah, I think so.
Incredible.
Speaking of LaFonda, though, can
Yes.
we just cut back over to, we were talking about this yesterday. LaFonda and Kip. Kip being the only non-liar in the Dynamite family.
Yeah, yeah, for
Like,
real.
that's Dynamite.
They
I'm
like
sorry.
because Napoleon always does this thing where he's obviously talking himself up to the people around him. Like he meets Pedro and he's like, "This school has a lot of gangs, by the way, and I was invited into some because of my skills, but I politely declined." You know what I mean? Like he always has to make himself seem cooler. He has like picture from Deb, and he's like, "This is my girlfriend. She lives. You don't know her. She goes to a different school. You know what I mean?" Like that, the classic thing of like, "Oh, you don't know her. She's from Canada." Like, and it's obviously made up. And then Uncle Rico does like a similar thing where he's always talking about his good old days when he was in high school. He's talking himself up in that way. So then we get to Kip, and you think that when he says, "I've been chatting online with a beautiful woman, and she's gonna come and meet me," you think either he's lying or he's being catfished. But then she shows up, and they do the glorious pan like from her feet to her head, like in all the classic movies, and you're like, oh, neither of them were lying to each other. It's incredible. He actually
It's
was
crazy.
talking to this beautiful woman, and she actually does like him back and came to visit him, and they fall in love. Yay!
Here's the thing, the sign. When he's at the
Mhm.
first of all, the Idago, I think that's hilarious. That's a great name for
That
a
is
bus
funny.
station.
Yeah.
But when he's at the Idago with his little sign that says LaFonda, spelled LaFawnduh,
Hmm.
LaFawnduh, right? You think it's fake because you're like, nobody could have that name. And then he's just standing there and like, the people are getting off the bus and they're not LaFonda, so you're like, oh, it's not her, she's not coming. LaFonda, start at the foot, pan up, amazing, beautiful woman, and she's so excited to see him.
Hmm.
And the
I like the
milkshake in
little
the
like
park?
yeah, like usually they'll do like the pan up and this person is kind of like cold or like you know what I mean? Like they
Mhm.
know how beautiful they are and so they're kind of above you. But that's totally not her at all. Like it pans up to her head, she sees Kip and is like Wallace and Gromit style. She's so
Yes,
excited. They just have like real pure love, you know? It's awesome to see.
that's good
And
stuff.
another thing we were talking about yesterday is like later on in the movie, he starts wearing like, because she likes an all black outfit and she rocks it. And so we see him wearing that too. He has like kind of a black jacket and like a do-rag. And so there is an argument that it's like, it seems like she's like she's changing him or that it's like it can be kind of a weird thing for people. But we noted when we were watching it yesterday that earlier in the movie, when he and Uncle Rico are going to start their Tupperware selling MLM, Rico is like, "We need something to make us look official." And Kip's immediate first thought is like, "Yeah, like some nice gold bracelets or something." And they're talking about like t-shirts or name tags, right? But his immediate first thought is like, "Oh, we need a bracelet." And so it shows that he always has had a kind of a sense of style, but hasn't been able to execute it because he lives in small town Idaho, which is redundant. But I said what I said. So then he meets LaFonda and she's like, "Oh, you like jewelry? Me too." You know? They're like made for each other.
Like down to the playing footy under the table. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
hello. Like not him kicking off his shoe.
I know, and you know that his sock is so sweaty.
It's so sweaty.
Like I walked around in socks in an Idaho summer. I know your foot's a little bit sweaty,
You can't do it. Can't do it.
but she don't care because that's true love.
She don't care because the love is true. And
Hmm.
LaFonda, speaking of genuine LaFonda, not her asking Napoleon. She's like, "Oh, why are you all sweaty? What are you practicing?" And she's so genuine about it.
Yeah,
Where did this angel from heaven come from?
exactly. Like she doesn't seem mean about it. Like any of the kids from Napoleon's school, if they saw him and they're like, they'd be like, "Why are you so sweaty?" And he's like, "I was just practicing." And they're like, "Practicing what?" Like you know they're gonna make fun of him for it later.
Yeah.
But she's just asking. And he's like, just some dance moves, immediately chugs the Gatorade. It's such funny timing. Such funny timing. He should have won an Oscar for that moment.
The way he threw his head
Just some
back, like,
just some dancing. Like so
just some
fast.
dance moves. Like,
So funny.
such
But
force.
anyway,
Yeah.
so bad. But he says that he has been practicing some dance moves, and he's obviously like not super. It's weird because he seems like so confident in himself when he's talking to like Deb and Pedro, and he's like, "Yeah, these are my skills, and I'm like really good at them." And like he draws the picture of Trisha and it's not very cute, but he's like, this is probably the best drawing I've ever done. Like he seems really confident, but then when he's dancing, like he does do that very privately. So you see there is like he's obviously when he's talking himself up in these ways, he's like compensating for the fact that he is very insecure. And he only likes to dance in private because he. So she's like, "Oh, if you like dancing," like she leaves it her cousin's mixtape for him to like try out or something. And then that ends up being like the payoff at the very end of the show. Like he dances to that Jamiroquai song from her cousin. And it's like, yeah, like you're saying, she is like just so genuine. Like she's just such a nice person. She genuinely likes Kip, and so she wants to get to know his brother.
Well, and I think the thing about him practicing privately in his bedroom, like he shut the door almost all the way so that he could go dance in private, really speaks volumes to how much he values his friendship with Pedro. Because Pedro like doesn't have a skit and they're like, "Oh, you need a skit. You're supposed to give a skit after your speech."
Hmm.
And his first thought is, "Well, I guess I got to step in for my buddy because he said he's leaving after that."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a man who likes to dance privately gets up there and dances in front of the entire school that is so mean to him. Like the one of the first beginning shots is him getting beat up in the hallway and going, "Come
Yeah.
get me. I need to go
And
home."
it's a recurring thing.
Yeah.
Like every time we're back in this school, we see like these same couple of bullies picking on Napoleon or like one other guy.
Like he's actively getting bullied. And he knows
Yeah.
that he'll probably get bullied for dancing. And he's just like, "Okay, but it's for Pedro." So,
Hmm.
Pedro, 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 like he just goes. Also,
He
I
just goes
wish
for it.
that song was one that we could see Napoleon dance to. Pedro, 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 Pedro. Would that not be so good? I vote they make a Napoleon Dynamite 2, and then it doesn't suck, and then it's a really good sequel, and it's back in Preston, Idaho after they're all like grown, and you get to see some other adventure. But they're just as awkward because they're still in Preston, Idaho.
Like it's still the same cast, same budget, like just super minimal, like
$50. You have
yeah,
$50.
maximum. Yeah.
Like that'll barely get you gas.
It's so funny. Yeah, I was like it could barely even be a road trip movie because they could go somewhere but not get back.
Yeah, kind of funny. That would actually be iconic. A road
It
trip
would be
movie where
actually kind of funny.
they don't come back.
Yeah, or they don't make the whole trip, they run out of gas and then the movie ends.
It ends there. I thought that's where it starts.
Yeah. We were talking yesterday too about like how this is just set up in a very non-traditional way, where like in your classic like coming of age high school movie, the last scene would be the dance. Where they come together and yeah, his date stands him up and then he gets to dance with Jed and it's this like beautiful nice moment and they're dancing to Cyndi Lauper and it's like wonderful. But this we're all about subverting expectations in this film. They put the dance in the middle.
Like, what are you supposed to do after that? Well,
Yeah,
exactly what regular high school people do. That's the thing that we've
yeah.
been talking
And they
about
just
over and
go
over
back
is
to
that this
school.
is yeah, this is like so Idaho that
Hmm.
is you're getting the whole Idaho school experience. Well, the school year doesn't end on a nice dance. That's like somewhere in the middle, and then you go back to your regular school life, and it perfectly depicts that.
Hmm. It does.
Kind of
And I
fun.
like that like there's like the rising up action up until the like Pedro's speech, and then they do the dance and he gets a standing O rightfully. Um and then even after that, their little bit of resolution is just like he gets to play tetherball with Deb as the sun goes down.
Yeah,
And like
which is
that's
so
the
good.
heart of the movie, not the dance. Like I love that it's in that order, right? Because it is just like a small introspective movie. So it
Hmm.
makes sense for it to end with like playing tetherball and the sprinklers are on and it's obviously like school just got out. It's like early June maybe. Like that's what life is all about actually.
Yeah, I think so. Well, and he finally got a tetherball partner. Like, not all of these kids completely ignoring him the entire school year, and then the one time he does reach out, that we know of, which I'm sure that, he maybe used to ask a lot more in his younger
Hmm.
years or just maybe even earlier in the school year. I don't know at what point he gave up. But at some point he got so dejected with not having anyone to play tetherball with that he would just play by himself, which is so sad. But
Yeah.
then at the end, like Deb is playing with him and he didn't even have to be like, "Do you want to play tetherball?" It was just like,
Mm.
"Oh, yeah,
She just
and
came
let's
up.
go play."
And they've
Yeah.
had this thing where like Uncle Rico is being really he's successful in the pyramid scheme thing. And so then he's like, I'm gonna sell herbal supplements to people, Bust Must Plus. Which of course is a bad idea, and it doesn't go well with anybody that he tries to sell it to, right? But especially not Deb, because he specifically says, Napoleon told me that you would be interested in this, even though 5 minutes ago in the movie he just got beat up by Napoleon for being like, stop talking to my friends. You're so weird. I hate you. um, and so they've had this like a kind of misunderstanding where Deb thinks that Napoleon truly said this, and she confronts him about it. She's like, I think you're a really shallow friend. I don't appreciate that you treated me this way. Hangs up, walks away. Good for her. But then this moment of reconciliation where they don't have to like talk it out, and he's like, Uncle Rico lied and whatever. Like they don't have to explain it. She figures it out. And they just walk up and say hey and play a little tetherball. It's nice.
Yeah. She's a smart cookie. And maybe Uncle Rico would have friends to play football with if he didn't pull jerk moves like that all the time.
Hmm.
Like, excuse my language, but freaking idiot. You know?
Idiot. Yeah. Yeah, his thing like when he's talking with Kip in the diner and he says that his like most recent girlfriend like broke up with him because he's like, "Oh, she's jealous. She says I'm stuck too much in 82." And it's like then throughout the course of the movie, obviously she was right. He is stuck in 1982. There's like a C or D plot in which they try to go back in time to 1982 so he can relive his glory days, which is super funny because it's like not the focus of the story at all. It does not
Not at
matter.
all.
It's just there, which is awesome. Um, but it's like he in his mind has to rationalize like she says I'm still stuck in 82. But obviously that can't be it. Therefore, she's just jealous, right? Like he has such a warped perspective of what other people must be thinking. Um, so he just like obviously doesn't know how to treat the people around it. And we see that kind of like build up, obviously, with like the supplements, and he gets beat up by Napoleon and by Rex Kwon Do, and then he has to go into hiding in the desert
Well, weren't
with a
the
broken
cousins from
arm, which is
Pocatello
what he
gonna come?
deserved.
I think the
Hmm?
Pocatello cousins were gonna come after him at some point.
Oh,
Because again,
almost certainly.
like,
Yeah, he's a bad guy. Well, something. Oh, I was gonna say, talking about how like Napoleon interacts with Rico. I love that he always says like two things instead of just one, but he puts the more dramatic thing first. I wish you would get out of my life and shut up. Like, or like when he's like, "Oh, Grandma just called. She wants you to like get out of our lives and stop eating all our steak." You know what I mean? Like he always has like get off my property and stop eating my food. Like, get out of my life and also shut up. You know, like his insults are like in the wrong order.
which is the perfectly right order.
Yeah, it's just something to love about the character.
Hmm,
Like you can totally
definitely.
believe like and maybe it is just like growing up in like a rural area. You're like, "Oh, I know that guy," you know?
I think we could all stand to be a little more Napoleon. Not Napoleon the short one, but Napoleon the very tall kid from Preston, Idaho, who is
Yeah.
in who has the last name Dynamite, which first of all, that's a dynamite name.
It just never
Like,
comes up. Like, what's your name? Napoleon Dynamite. Does that mean that his brother is Kip Dynamite and his uncle is Rico Dynamite and his grandma is Grandma Dynamite?
yeah, like that's epic.
That's so
I
cool.
would use my last name all the time, like Abby Daniels, how we always talk about her. And you can't just say
Yeah.
Abby. It's Abby Daniels.
Yeah, we call her Abby Daniels.
Yeah, well, you can't just say Napoleon, or people will think of like Napoleon Bonaparte, which I mean, not a great guy. But
Right.
Napoleon Dynamite, we should all be striving to be Napoleon Dynamite. The only guy I can think
Hmm.
of who is better is Croc. That's America's sweetheart, but that's for another time.
I love that when the grandma is like, knock it off, Napoleon, make yourself a dang quesadilla. Funny. I like when Uncle Rico and Kip are at the table, they're planning, it's an early on when they're planning their Tupperware scheme.
Hmm.
And they don't want Napoleon to get in on it. And Rico's like, come on, Kipper, I think we should take this elsewhere. And why does he say Kipper? Nobody else ever calls him Kipper. It's just a one-time thing.
He's the try
Um,
hard. He's just like trying to be the cool uncle.
Come on, Kipper. And it's not like everyone calls him Kip except Uncle Rico calls him Kipper. It's like everyone calls him Kip and also Uncle Rico calls him Kip, except for one single time when he calls him Kipper. And it honestly reads like he just said his line wrong and they were like, we'll keep it. It's funny, you know?
Yeah,
That's how it comes
yeah,
off to me. I love
honestly.
it. Come on, Kipper, let's take this somewhere more private. And then they go to a public bowling alley. Funny.
Yeah, that's a valid point. What a try hard uncle. I can't even
Yeah.
think of if I have any of those. Maybe one, but not really. You don't associate with them that much
Mm, true.
because they're too try hard. Whereas I, on the
Yeah.
other hand, was with my niece and nephew today on this little hike, and then there were also three other kids that are their cousins, but on their dad's side of the family, not my sister's side. Right? So I'm not
Mhm.
related to them in any way, shape, or form. But at the end of our little hike, they were fighting over whose aunt I am, which makes me the awesome aunt. Like,
Nice. Yeah.
no doubt about it. And it's because we don't try hard. We tell them what to do, and they love it.
Yeah. Hmm. It's
And we
true.
don't make stupid nicknames like Kipper.
And also, like, it does make sense because Napoleon is an angsty teen. Like, it does make sense that he's like, I don't need someone to babysit me. Like, I'm basically an adult. And also, Kip lives there and is an adult. Like,
Yeah.
Uncle Rico certainly does not need to be there for the entire movie. Like, there's no reason for him to be there except just plot, I guess,
Did we
which
ever
is very
figure
fun.
out how old Kip is? Because he said in the movie that he's
Kip's
like,
like
what, 32?
32 years old.
I'm Googling it right now. How old is Kip in Napoleon Dynamite?
Because I always think that he's just exaggerating. Like, I don't need a babysitter. Kip's like 32 years old.
Yeah, that's all that comes up is Napoleon Dynamite. Kip is like 32 years old. Kip, I don't mind if you stay. What?
I don't mind if you stay. I love how soft-spoken he is. Like Napoleon always talks like kind of more forcefully. He's like, Kip's like 32 years old. Idiot,
32
you
years
know?
old.
Kip is like, I don't mind if you stay. I've been chatting online with babes all day, so I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious. You know, he's just like
Things are going to be serious.
so chill.
Yeah. Apparently Napoleon's 16. What?
Mm.
I was thinking maybe like senior year because, Pedro's trying for senior class president.
Yeah, so they'd have to be junior year because he gets
Mm,
voted in at the end of the year to be
I see.
senior class president next year. So I think
Does
they're
that make
junior.
Napoleon like a summer baby? Because he's got to be 17 by
I
the
think
next year.
so.
I see, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
As he should
He's
be.
like young for
Napoleon
his
feels like a
age.
summer baby.
Yeah, doesn't he?
Hmm.
Like imagine if he was like, "Oh yeah, my birthday's November 11th." You'd be like, "What?
No,
November?"
I think it's like July 16th. Feels right.
Hmm. Yeah, that could be a Napoleon Dynamite birthday. If there are
That's
any big like dynamite heads out there who know all the like underground facts, let us know if we're right, but we're probably right about his birthday.
my two bets are either July 16th or July 4th because how fitting for a dynamite.
He's so
Boom.
American.
He's so
That's
American.
that's quite funny.
It is quite funny. Thank you.
Bye. To be continued.
Yes.
What was the question?
As what do you think of Kai? And I ask this because I have like I try not to have guilty pleasures because I try to enjoy things sincerely. Vampire Diaries is a guilty pleasure because I like it's not a good show, but it's one of my favorites, and I think about it constantly. I've seen it so many times, and I like if they had consulted me, I would have fixed the last three seasons of the show. I can
So
pinpoint exactly where they went wrong.
You'll be very disappointed in me. I've like started the Vampire Diaries over like at least 4 times, but I always get stuck on like somewhere between season 4 and 5. So I've never actually finished it. So I don't even remember. I don't even know if I don't know who Kai is.
Good, perfect, perfect. You're fine. You're doing so good, and I'm really proud of you. And stay exactly where you are, and don't ever change. And don't finish it,
Oh,
and
don't
don't
finish
try to
it.
watch season 7
Because
because it'll
if you
ruin
watch the
you.
last couple seasons, yeah, you'll be like, oh, they should have done it this way, and it'll consume your mind. Exhibit A.
Well,
So
the other
don't do
day,
that, is what we're saying.
You're looking
the
at
other
what you
day I
could
was
become.
thinking about it. I was thinking about it. I'm like, and after seeing all those Instagram reels, I'm like, I should watch the Vampire Diaries. But they took it off of Netflix. It's not on Amazon Prime anymore. It's not on what was on I think it was on Hulu for a while.
Hmm.
Basically, it's not on any of the platforms that I what like that my parents have because I
Hmm.
mooch off their
Right.
service.
And you're not gonna get like subscribe to a new platform just for the one show.
Right. Unless
Like
I
I
could
feel
It's
like
like
with
one
having so
month.
many platforms, it's almost like people don't want anybody to watch their show.
what
You
are you
know,
guys talking about? It's literally on Tubi.
exclusive. Yeah,
What?
it's exclusive to this, and then it's like nobody's gonna nobody's gonna see it. Like stop taking it
Yeah.
off of a platform or putting it
It's
only on like
streaming on
its
Squeeb.
own platform. Yeah,
Moving it, and I'm like, I just can't keep up anymore.
I know.
No, like that's too many. Please stop. None of us want this. We've reinvented cable, but worse, and it just keeps going.
I mean,
Yeah,
it might be back on in another year on one of the platforms I watch. So
Yeah, because they
yeah,
cycle through. It's never
yeah.
permanent. Like it was on. It is on Peacock now. If I don't know if your parents have Peacock, my
my friend, and she's wanted me to watch her account, so I might do that.
nice.
Nice. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I
No,
can
that
only
is
have one subscription because I'm a broke college kid.
yeah. Like and like who
Yeah.
can afford?
Having a subscription to every single. Yeah,
You're spending like upwards of $150 a month.
Yeah.
exactly.
It's like
Okay, so
some of us need to eat, so we're not gonna do that.
Well, you can pay for Hulu and Peacock and ESPN and HBO Max if you just stop paying rent and tuition. So,
I might.
Oh, so easy.
fix your priority. Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah, think of
literally
all
everybody's
the
doing it.
entertainment you could be absorbing if it was not just your number one priority, but in fact your only thing that you had in
So
your
you're
life.
drop out of college, move back home with my parents, and just buy subscriptions and to television shows. I feel like
Yep.
that's not a bad life.
Yeah, you
Okay.
might end up liking it better. That's what they want you to
FedEx.
think.
I won't get. I mean, the sacrifices you've got to make for the temporary joys of life.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I'm always
This is
saying
starting to
that.
make a lot of sense, Trinice.
Yeah.
Wait a second, hold on. We all got vaccinated. So what's happening here is our microchips are just syncing
Oh,
up.
yeah, we're Bluetooth connected. Hang on, I'm gonna start playing a song to see if you can hear it.
Mr. Brightside.
I wonder
Oh,
how
that would have
that
been so
works
good.
because
Caribbean Blue, obviously.
so I share a half
Actually.
of a brain cell with my best friend, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
So
Everyone does, yeah. Your government mandated one brain cell that you have to share with one friend. Yeah. We all know.
how do we just have like multiple people that are like since we have these chips we're just tuned into everybody who has the chips?
I think
Hive
so,
I
yeah.
mind.
So
wonder
you get
relevant
it's
to
like
how
you get the brain cell that you share with a friend, and then when you get the jab, it's synced up and you join the hive mind of everyone who's been
that would explain
Indoctrinated.
so many.
everyone who's been indoctrinated into the woke mob, if you will.
I won't actually. I'm tired.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Should we talk about Napoleon Dynamite?
I think we should. I think that's the reason we're all gathered here today.
I was really
Should we
impressed
start
with
with a
that.
prayer?
I talked with Whitney on Saturday, and we didn't get very far because of how Saturday ended up being the least convenient day for all four of us. So it was a kind of brief conversation, but we did come up with one idea for what STEM can stand for. Because in Napoleon Dynamite, they're not talking a lot about science, technology, engineering, or in fact, mathematics.
No,
But there is a
it's
lot of
true.
food. So we were like, what if we just make it all the food, steak, tots, egg, the big barrel of egg, the nastiest part of the movie.
That you think it's orange juice until he cracks one more
You're
yolk
like,
in
ooh,
there.
refreshing. Oh, yeah, it's so
I
bad.
had to watch
And then
that movie and not realize that that's not orange
you
juice.
block it out.
Yeah. As a kid, I really just, I
The
don't
like
know.
the
Once you get
saddest
to the end
boiled
of the
eggs in the
movie,
world.
and the sandwiches, they're not egg salad sandwiches. They're just egg sandwiches.
Like they're just then they're so
There's no
thin
other
too.
ingredients in there. There's no like mayo and mustard and pepper. It's just egg. It's just egg.
Like, that would just
Um,
be way too dry. Like,
yeah, it's just dry bread with egg on it.
Idaho?
It's
Yeah,
inhumane.
no, that bread was crunchy.
Yeah, because it's dry. It's a dry climate.
Yeah, in any given situation, if you leave bread out for more than 5 minutes, you come back, you're like, oh man, like it's a little
Like
dry on
thunk,
top.
thunk,
In
thunk.
Idaho, if you like if you leave
You
your
have to
bread
toast
uncovered
it.
for more than 5 seconds, it's dry. I don't know what
It's
to tell
dry.
you.
And the
It's
thing is,
all the
when
moisture.
it's dry, if you have dry bread in Idaho, you have to toast it, and it makes it seem more moist.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the opposite of how toast usually is, but it actually works here. If you're like, this bread is a little
Yeah.
bit stale, toast it. It works. Yeah, so I was thinking steak, tots, eggs, or just egg, milk, because of how the defect in
So
this
then,
one
no.
is bleak.
Yes, I'm familiar. I'm gonna put you in the garbage disposal. Sorry, I'm learning how to gentle parent.
I think it's going really well.
One of them jumped on my back right before we started the call, and
Hmm.
like, actually, see if you can see, because I felt like
Oh yeah,
he sliced me open. Is it
he
visible?
did. He did. Yeah, it's quite visible. Yeah,
Great. I can't
you
wait to
got a
watch this back.
gash.
Good. Will
like
I need
that.
stitches? Yeah, Archie.
Use glue. It was
Yeah,
Archie.
it was
Mm,
Archie. Yeah.
oh no.
My family, they started calling Leo Little Bastard, which is
Hmm.
funny, but they're like,
Naturally, yeah.
man, Archie needs a nickname. And I'm like,
Yeah,
his
arch nemesis.
nickname is Archie because, yeah, his full name is Archibald Arch Nemesis Archie. Like,
Yeah,
you can't really fit more
which is
in there.
cute. Yeah.
But now they just started calling him asshole, which again is funny because it's just so, it's like, that's not even clever. You didn't even try.
No, not at all.
Name
They just took the first letter of each of the names and they're like, what's a good swear word that starts with that letter? And that's as far as they got. I think that's what
Yeah,
it sounds like to me. Yeah.
that's
And knowing
really
your
what
family,
happened.
I'm pretty sure it's right.
Sometimes simplicity is just the best route.
That's true. I'll give you another example of this. Is because my dad has two brothers and one of them is named Daniel.
Oh, I know this story. Basically, one of them is named Daniel, and when they were all children together, as siblings are, they would call him, like, to be mean and bully him a little bit. They would call him Dumb Mule. Like, oh, you're being so dumb. You should call you Dumb Mule instead of Daniel. Which is like not clever, but it is funny.
Pretty good though.
They heard that story and they started calling him Daniel. He legitimately hates it. Imagine being a 50-year-old man going into a blind range because someone caused you to feel.
Your own children. The whole world knows this story.
I'm so sorry, Dan, that your children are so much funnier than you.
But it's
It's gonna
better for it not being too clever. Like Trinice was saying, you don't have
Yeah.
to try too hard.
Yeah. Sometimes the more you try, the
Simplicity is key.
it's almost a little bit cringe fail.
It's kind of embarrassing. Like, why are you trying so hard?
Yeah.
Just be
To
like more
say
like
Daniel
Daniel.
is
Yeah,
exactly means you're not worth the effort it would take for me to put into the thought of this.
right.
Yeah. I also have an acronym
Oh, yes.
to put up for consideration. Trinice
Yeah,
can be
yeah,
the
we can have
neutral
a
third
vote.
party.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple different options
Ooh,
for
okay.
some of the
This is
letters. So
serious.
S, I liked the food idea. So S is steak.
Yeah, S
Uh,
has to be steak, right?
S has to be
Mostly
steak.
for the
Like
scene when
we
Uncle Rico picks up Kip's steak off of his plate and throws it directly into Napoleon's face. And Kip says, "That's what I'm talking about," which is like not the
That's what I'm
reaction.
talking about.
Still can't get over
That's what
how
I'm
like
talking about.
perfectly good steak was just
Like
Exactly. Like I'd
he
be like,
didn't
make
even
me a new
eat it.
steak. He hadn't even taken a bite. He didn't
He
get to
was
because it
sitting there
got picked up by his
struggling.
uncle and launched directly into his brother's glasses.
gonna waste a steak. He should have wasted his own.
I know, like it's funny, but at what cost? Now
Yeah.
you owe him
I
a
have
steak.
I have this theory that the steak, like he wasn't eating the steak because it was super like overcooked and dry. And I didn't even realize I was doing this, but I did have to justify it in my head to get around the fact that they wasted a perfectly good steak. So in my head,
Yeah.
I've
You're
been
like, maybe
telling
it
myself this
wasn't
my
perfectly
entire
good.
life. Exactly. I'm thinking he wasn't eating the steak. Steak must have been bad. They're like, well, we got to do something with the steak. Let's throw it at Napoleon's face
hmm
because he wasn't going to eat it anyway because of how it was bad.
Right,
And so if you
right.
need to think about it that way,
That's a
that's
pretty
helped
good
me.
justification. Yeah, I like that.
Hmm.
And it's like, especially knowing that this is like a student film, it's supposed to be very low budget. Like, they're not wasting several steaks. Like, if they have to film that scene over and over again, do they just have a pile of steaks?
Well, I
Maybe it
know
was spur of
sometimes
the moment. Maybe it was just a really bad steak. Actually, but this is probably the answer, is that it was filmed in Idaho, so they certainly just talked to a farmer who had recently killed a cow, and he was like, "Please take this steak." It happens to my grandpa all the time. All his neighbors will be like, "Hey, we got like it'll fill like like a chest freezer." They're like, "We got at least half of a chest freezer full of meat for you."
Why am I not living in Idaho?
I know,
That's
I
the most
mean,
perfect state.
it is. It really
okay,
is.
but I do know some movies will like use fake food and like they
Mhm.
have special effects and they make it look realistic. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how advanced
Commercials.
technology was when Napoleon Dynamite was made.
Yeah,
I
back
think
in
they
the
had the
dark ages.
technology, but they also paid John Heater $1,000 to play this role.
Really?
Yeah,
So
I think that
I think
they
they
had
had
the
the technology. I
technology,
just don't
but
think they.
couldn't use
Yeah.
it. They didn't have the budget, or they just chose not to. And I think, like,
Oh,
$1,000?
in a lot of ways, I just feel like it would be easier
oh.
to just use a real steak. Like, if I'm a
Yeah.
student in Idaho, hypothetically, if either Trinice or I were a student in Idaho, if we were gonna make a movie, I would just get a steak like from they like sell them on campus for cheap.
Wait, they sell. Oh, I think we were talking about this.
Yeah, like the food science department have like meat sales and fruit sales, so
I
you can
need
go
to
and get, you know what I mean? That's probably where they got them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In all seriousness, you're probably dead
like
on
it was either a farmer who was like, "Hey, I just have way too much cow," or it was like somebody like a student.
at Rick's,
Yeah,
where
and then
they
you can get them for
also
cheap.
have rats. You can go and say, please, can I have a rat? And you just have to sign adoption papers. Is that right? Ollie, you were the one who told me that.
I
I've
think
not.
so. Well, I don't really know all the details because I heard from my friend Aspen, and she was like really debating because
See,
she
I've
likes rat.
never like thought before like I'm gonna go to college and while I'm there I'm gonna adopt a rat. It's just really
That
funny.
you haven't lived.
I guess not.
They're so cute.
I don't know. I still have trauma from the rats in New York, so
Fair enough. Valid.
Hmm.
The rats out
Yeah,
on the
you
East
might
Coast
have
are
to
built
go.
different.
Yeah, you might have to go just to visit. And then it's like exposure therapy. You just meet a rat that's nice and Western, and then you're like, okay, everything's okay.
I was gonna say one more thing about why Kip might not be eating the steak is because he's got braces.
Oh,
Oh.
oh, it's true. It gets stuck.
Get stuck, or maybe his teeth
And
are
that's,
sore.
yeah, that's uncomfy. Yeah.
Yep.
I think these are good
I
justifications. Maybe like Uncle
yep.
Rico cooked Kip's steak too long, and so now he can't eat it because he got his braces tightened and it hurts too bad because it's kind of
And it
tough.
hurts.
So
Yeah.
then you might as well
Too
just throw
tough.
it at a kid on a bike.
Exactly. There's nothing better to do with it.
They probably
Mhm.
could have also gotten like expired meat and cooked it that they weren't gonna use anyway.
Yeah, like he wasn't gonna eat it
That's
anyway,
true.
just like old meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
Um,
options, and I think it's good that there are so many options so that we don't have to be so frustrated at the idea of like throwing a perfectly good steak at a kid on a bike
yeah.
and ruining
Yeah.
it forever.
I just miss eating steak so much, so it kind of triggered me because I'm like, I can't afford to buy a steak right now.
Yeah,
Wanna
especially not to
cook
just
it
throw it out.
It kind of reminded me of that. Have you guys seen that Reddit post where the guy's like schmoozing with his wife's boss? They're all having dinner together, and then they're like, "Oh, we're having steak," and he's like, "Yeah, I love steak." And so she puts it on his plate, and it's like super rare. And he's like, "I can't eat this." And to me, skill issue. Like I love a rare steak. It's also kind of funny because whenever I go out to eat, I'm like, "I'll have it rare, please," and they're like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Yep." And they're like, "Rare is red in the middle." I'm like, "Yep, I know. I'm asking for that specifically." And then they'll bring it out and it's like medium well. I'm like,
You didn't do what I asked.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, "Oh, sweetie, oh no, I know what you want." I'm like,
that's for
"No,
boys.
I want it just
Rare
like
steaks
that."
are for
The more you,
boys.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know how anyone likes it more well done than that. That's where the flavor is. The longer you cook it, the less it tastes. I don't understand. Anyway, so he's like, "The steak is so rare. I don't like, I literally cannot eat this." And he sees
It's like blue.
a window right next to it. Yeah, oh, a good blue steak. Don't even get me started. It's, yeah, like really, really rare. He just says it's like, still mooing. So he takes the steak. He's like, "I'm going to throw it out the window." So he takes it and he chucks it as hard as he can. And it
The window's
smacks
closed.
against the window that was just so clean. And then it's just there on the window, and then it slides down, sadly, lands on the floor. And then he's got to try to justify. He's like, "I slipped." And he has to eat that window floor rare steak. Valid
Um,
punishment for his actions.
I haven't I haven't seen that post, but it's quite funny. Um,
Yeah.
that's really good. I feel like once it falls on the floor, you could like if you sear it again, it would be okay, and then he would also like it better because then it's cooked more.
That's what everybody in the comments was saying. Like, "Why didn't you just do this?" And he's like, "I am stupid enough to throw a steak out a window. Do you think that I would have thought that quickly in that moment to say, oh, I'll just like grill this really quickly for another second?" But yeah, there are
I
solutions
don't
to this.
understand too.
Also,
Was it like okay, so it's like the husband and wife and boss?
yes,
Is
the
that what you
three of
said?
them.
It's only the three of them?
Dinner at
Because
the
I
boss's
just think
house.
like if I was eating a steak dinner with the two of you, and one of you like threw your steak out the window, I just feel like I would notice that you ate it really fast. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
even if
right?
the window was open and it went out, I'd be like, "Whoa, Whitney, you really put that thing down!" Like,
You didn't chew 30 times per bite.
That's bad. Didn't you know there's actually studies that show that you're supposed to chew your food at least 30 to 40 times before you swallow it? We'd be judging you hardcore. That's all I'm saying.
It's a really fast chewer.
Yeah.
Like a
No,
beaver.
I chewed each bite 30 times, but I chew at lightning speed.
How many chews, Whitney?
What?
How many chews per minute can you do?
Oh, we've not been able to
Yeah,
calculate
it's like
it. It's too fast.
we've moved past like typing tests, and now the real test is chewing. What's your like per minute?
I actually do think that I am maybe the slowest chewer on the planet.
That might be true.
He's so slow. One time, Olivia and I went out to eat at Denny's,
I was
and we were there for
literally
like
going to bring up the exact same example. The thing is, like, I was still in Arizona, and Whitney had come to visit, and she had to go to the airport that day. It doesn't really matter what time, as long as it was that day, you know that it was kind of high stakes situation. So we're at Denny's, and there were like, what, 7 of us at the table? Like, we got a group together, and we all ate and finished and like got to go boxes and refilled drinks and whatever. And she had eaten like half of one pancake. And we were like, Whitney, you have to leave to go to the airport. Do you need a box? And we like, oh.
So you're the type of
Shoveling
person
it in my mouth.
like, I'm taking every meal to go.
It's the only option because she's not eating it there. We could be there for 2 hours. She's not eating it. And there was plenty, like, it wasn't like the rest of us didn't know each other, and so she had to be like instigating conversation the whole time. Like, we're all grown. We know how to make conversation with this half of the table while this half eats and then trade around, so she had plenty of time to eat and just didn't. And then was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I got like a box, and she's like, I'll eat these at the airport.
So is it
Her
just that
entire meal except for the one half pancake.
or distracted, and that makes
Well, it was definitely at that time it was both, but it's just a good example of like, I think even if it had just been the 2 of us and not like a group of people, it's quite likely that the same thing would have happened.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I eat by myself every day for lunch, and oftentimes I'll get to the 55-minute mark and I'm like, oh crap. And it's like, girl, what are you doing you have an hour.
it's just more of a rush if you get to spend 55 minutes slacking off and then 5 minutes of panic.
yeah.
That's true. I live for that adrenaline boost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it gets you through the day.
Oh my gosh. I never finished my acronym.
I know,
Yeah, we're still on
we
S.
had to circle back to it at some point. So far, the vote is the S is definitely steak because nobody's thought of
That's
another
for
one.
steak.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yes, because there is no better choice. A T, I have Tina, You Fat Lard, or Time Machine. E, Explosives in Loch Ness. And M is Music or Moon Boots.
Okay. See, these are really good options. Yeah.
I did like the Tina, You Fat Lard, just because I feel like that's the
That's what everybody knows about the movie.
exactly. When
That's
I think of
the
Napoleon
line.
Dynamite, Tina. Tina comes
Mhm.
to mind. Well,
Mhm.
one of the things that comes to mind.
So true. Steak, Tina, You Fat Lard. Okay. And the E was
Explosives in Loch Ness.
Explosives in Loch Ness.
That one is more. I actually like Egg better because that one is a line that I personally find funny, but it's not like an
Yeah.
iconic Napoleon Dynamite moment. That's just
Right,
for me.
right. I feel like if we had that one, it would be like kind of the full spectrum of familiarity that you have with the movie, where like even if you haven't seen it, you've likely heard Tina, You Fat Lard,
Yeah.
come get some dinner. But you would have to have seen it and like be intimately familiar with it in order to recognize that Explosives in Loch Ness is a Napoleon Dynamite reference. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like we've got broad strokes here. But I think egg
Yeah, you've got to be Mormon to
is
know
like
that.
funny because it's egg.
It's Egg. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice and simple.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Back
What did you
to
say about
Trini's
this
thesis. Sometimes
Yeah,
simple is better.
that's what I keep trying to say about stats, but it doesn't agree with me.
Hmm.
So.
No, it's not very agreeable.
Mm.
It probably won't agree with you.
No, it's like milk.
Mhm.
Upsets the tummy.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah.
The tragic life we live, isn't it? It doesn't stop me
Yeah, we
eating
carry on though.
ice cream. No.
No,
Yeah.
constantly. Oh my
And you're
gosh.
like,
Okay.
it should be inconveniencing my life, but it's barely slowing me down. You're like eating more. I feel like people who can't digest dairy eat more dairy than people who can.
They eat more.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm being deprived, and so I have
Right. It's like you're
You're
like
like
overcompensating.
overcompensating.
yeah. And I'll go maybe like a week without dairy, and then have a lot of dairy the following week. So to
Hmm.
make up for that lack.
Mm.
Well,
We
Okay, so
we can talk about
what's the
Napoleon
M?
Dynamite
We haven't voted on the M. Is it milk? Is it moon boots? Is it
or
music?
music.
wait, remind me of the
All
moon.
three are true.
All three are very true.
Yeah.
Yes. My cousin Aaron bought moon boots at a thrift store in Idaho and wore them many a time.
I know him. He has green eyes
Yeah.
and he lives in a van
Yes, that's pretty true.
and he makes Frankenstein trophies. I know more about
Yeah.
him than I thought I did.
Yeah, I've you know more about him than I thought you did too. It's like
I
I
don't know
guess
where
I
this
talk
knowledge
about
is
him a
coming
lot.
from. It just keeps coming. I
You're
think
like
you only talk about him
prophesying. You're
once.
like, and also he does this. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that.
Are you muted on purpose?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Um,
My,
Just
Olivia's
making
got
sure you
a
weren't saying something like life-changing and we're missing out, you know?
oh, my
yeah,
room.
like maybe
I was
the real number of times we need to choose something.
Yeah, or she's like speaking, yeah, she's speaking revelations, she's speaking in tongues, she's having an epiphany, and we
yeah.
just can't
I
hear
just
it.
said
We
the
don't have
most
ears to hear.
profound thing I've ever said in my whole entire life. And you
Yeah.
guys,
No.
I can't remember what it was.
Oh,
So,
oh no.
yeah.
It
Life
was
is
profound,
so hard.
followed by a stupor of thought. I mean, that's the worst.
So I'm in favor of moon boots.
Sick.
Yay.
I like moon boots. Yeah, I think it's a good call.
Moon boots is fun. Hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like outside of like that's another pretty notable part of the movie. Like if people were to
Mhm.
like Tina you fat lard and then be like, oh yeah, no, he's the guy that wears moon boots, right? Like I feel
Yeah,
like outside of
you can connect them.
the intense obsession that I have with this movie, that's a thing that, you know.
And his
Yeah.
was like,
The average person who has normal brain could probably pick up on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I was surprised because like I have seen this movie like literally more times than there are numbers. My family watched it like every weekend the whole time I was growing up. And I couldn't believe how much I noticed for the first time the last time we watched it all
Mhm.
together. Like the
Yeah.
thing with his grandma's shirt and there were a couple other things that I noticed that I hadn't realized before. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm watching it
Yeah.
like I can't believe I'm seeing with new eyes. It's
And I
beautiful.
think that's part of what like sets it apart from a lot of like student films or just like low budget films, right? Is like there is so much attention to detail that you can watch it over and
Yeah.
over and be like, oh, I never noticed that the grandma's shirt is really funny, or I never noticed, name any other thing.
what did her shirt
Yeah.
say again? I remember it
Uh,
was funny, but I don't.
my
My husband and I
my husband and I
divorced.
divorced for religious reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Funny. Like it's insane. Like the set dressing in that house.
Mhm.
I've been there. Like
Yeah, like
that
when they're in
is
there, it's just
an
like it's just somebody's
Idaho
house.
grandma house. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Been to that.
the pictures on the wall of Napoleon and Kip, like the glamour shots of them be like all dressed up and with that's
Hmm.
so funny. They
It's
never
very
focus
fun.
on that
How
even once in the
No, they're
movie.
just there. It's just part of the
Yeah.
environment. Yeah.
But it's such a treasure. It's one of the
Yeah.
funniest movies. Like I growing up, like I knew it was a Mormon culture movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Book of Mormon stories, like the animated ones, you know? I thought it was, oh, we watch these in our family, but like it's kind of weird to bring up in third grade class. Not a lot of people are
Hmm.
gonna know about it. But the older I get, the more I'm like, you know about Napoleon Dynamite? And then people are like, yes, it's a very popular movie. Like, of course I know about Napoleon Dynamite. So like
Yeah.
this is one of the movies where it's the opposite of what normally happens to me, where I think something is universally known or universally popular, and it's super niche interest that has
You're
been
like
seen
one of
by
7
two
people who have
people.
ever seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And this is the opposite of where it's a universally known and adored film. And I grew up thinking I'm so weird and different and special for like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can still be weird and special for liking Napoleon Dynamite. Because they kind of like, no matter how famous it is, it still feels like small and personal and,
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
that's true.
Which is, yes, one of its
One
and
of
strengths.
the
hey,
letterbox
got
reviews.
to talk to about it.
What?
I was saying, and hey, at least you know you've got more than 7 people to talk to about it.
That's so true. You have no idea, Traniece.
You don't
Like,
have to exhaust your resources too quick because more people have seen it. And it's something that like if people haven't seen it, even outside of like a large like Mormon culture kind of thing, like there might be a little surprise, like, oh, you haven't seen it? You should watch it. And it's something that you can like pretty easily recommend to anybody. And it
yeah.
is at the point where it is like a little bit surprising if like people haven't seen it because it's such like a cult classic at this point.
And it gives you
Hmm.
another excuse to watch it too. Not that you need an excuse.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a personal rule of mine. Like, it always drove me crazy growing up when people were like, you never saw this thing? Wow. And like treated you like you were stupid for not like watching the movie or TV show or reading
Mhm.
the book. And it's like, no, I live a different life than you. Of course not.
Yeah.
So whenever people are like, oh, don't hate me, I've never seen this movie, I try to be like, I literally don't care. But now you get the opportunity to watch it for the first time.
See, that's
Yeah.
me with so many things. Like I've never watched The Princess Bride. I've never watched
Oh.
Star Wars. There's a lot I haven't.
Yeah. There's a
So
lot, but your 2 examples were like the perfect 2 examples for this group.
Princess Bride and Star Wars, you say?
Yeah. Hmm.
Doing my best to keep a neutral face here. Like,
Yeah, but
oh.
on the inside, you have to know our intestines have turned into fireworks. That's all that's happening in here. We're like,
David, the other day I learned out that Darth Vader, like, he's he was hooked up to all those machines and he's not even 100% human anymore. Like, I
yeah,
didn't know that. I
He's
thought that he
part
was like still
Hayden
you,
with
Christensen, part James Earl Jones.
yeah, and
I
that's
just thought
fascinating.
he wore that mask just because.
Right. He looks that
I thought he
way.
was like
Yeah.
Kylo Ren.
But there's like there's so much movie to watch and lore to
Yeah.
uncover. There's a lot of philosophical implications, which I know that you were talking with our professor about it, and he mentioned like Darth Vader's transformation from human to like half of a person and he's a machine and whatever is like sends a pretty clear message in Star Wars. It happens a lot throughout the course of the movies. Yeah, there's a lot to get into. Um,
But
so, but basically, what we're saying is that if you want to watch the good ones, then you should do that. And we're here for you
yeah. Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
really quite enjoyable and they can be like just a fun and silly, goofy, light thing, or if you want to have a more in-depth discussion, there is a lot of meat there. So it's whatever you
Yes.
want. There's plenty of places to find it and watch it. And this
Yes.
episode is about Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh yeah, sorry. I shouldn't have brought up Star Wars because every time I do, like,
No, you're good. You didn't know that this was like the one place that you shouldn't bring it up.
Well, no, it's
And
like
like,
with everybody that
don't
I
even get
bring it
us
up with,
started
I'm
on the
like,
Princess Bride.
I've
Like,
I
we did
know,
not
I
even
was
talk
gonna
about that.
say, I intentionally skipped over that one. I'm like, if this is how much I have to say about Star Wars, I care more about Princess Bride.
I know.
I get mixed reviews on that one. Some people say it's really good. Other people are like, Princess Bride was trash.
Other people are
So I
wrong,
don't
Trinice. I'm
know.
gonna say that.
Yeah.
People can have
I
opinions,
have
and
to
people
say,
like movies are
That's
subjective.
true.
They're
yeah.
wrong.
But
It
sometimes
is
people are just
perfect.
wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it is
Sometimes people have bad
objectively a
opinions.
good movie. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's entitled to their wrong opinion.
I mean, I would.
Circling back to Moon Boots really quick.
Oh yeah, right. The reason we're talking, I feel like 20% of this has been Napoleon Dynamite, and the other 80% has been random stuff.
Yeah. And
If
Trinice, you
that,
have to know that happens every single week,
almost every single time.
pretty much without fail. Like, it's
I
really
mean,
just an excuse to like sit down and gab, but
Yeah,
under the like
I was gonna say
it's
Gab.
disguised as we're talking
that's the
about this
chip.
topic. But it's kind of this is
Yeah.
like the loose topic is Napoleon Dynamite, and then we're mostly going to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like this is how it always goes. So it's fine. But
I
I
will
wanted to
say
talk about
Just
we
let the
oh sorry.
conversation flow how it wants.
exactly, yeah. It's the point of a podcast, right? Is it's supposed to seem like a natural conversation, and maybe you learn a little something, and maybe you just have a good time.
Would you try to reverse the flow of a river?
No.
No, I mean, I probably wouldn't mess with the river anyway. I can't swim.
Be kind to him. Oh, you don't want to swim in a river also, because like you swim in a
No.
lake. Don't swim in a river. A river will kill you. It wants to.
Yeah.
Good to
If
River
they
know.
is
do,
the
just
moose
keep
of
going.
water bodies. Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
that's a fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm hmm
Ocean
You
is
can go
bear,
to
because
like
bears just don't really care. They're like, whatever.
right. If it kills you,
Yeah.
it's like it didn't mean to. It just was like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I could forgive it.
Yeah. What were you saying, Whitney?
Oh, nothing.
Do you remember? Oh, okay.
Something
No,
about
what were you
I
saying about moon
remembered
boots?
well that they're a testament to the fantastic style that everyone has in this movie. Napoleon, I mean, he has the iconic. I have seen the yellow Rick's College t-shirt on campus every single day since we watched this movie. Like, and I was like, I see it all the time because people know the movie and then they go to Idaho and they're like, hey, they sell the t-shirt here,
College.
you know?
Yeah.
Rick's College, no way. Um, like he has a lot of iconic outfits, including the moon boots, which my cousin Aaron bought at a thrift
hmm
store in Idaho, just like Napoleon Dynamite, because of the movie Napoleon Dynamite. He's from California. Mhm. But when he moved to
And
Idaho,
just in
he
case
was
we
like,
forgot, he
when he
has
moved to
green eyes
Idaho,
and lives in a van.
he's going full Idaho. He's gonna get the Napoleon Dynamite moon boots, my friend. And we did go Christmas caroling one year, and he was like, perfect. Perfect opportunity to show off my moon boots to all of my grandma's neighbors. And so that was
Aw.
awesome. And but Napoleon aside, he has all the iconic outfits, the ones that we remember, the yellow Rick's College shirt, the
Vote
wolf
for Pedro.
shirt, vote for Pedro, obviously. He's got like the classic looks, but every single person in this movie is actually fly.
Real.
That's true.
I feel like people sleep on that.
Except
You're
for the
thinking about the
uncle.
funniness of like, do you know you fat lard? Like, there's a lot of funny line delivery, and so we maybe forget how great every single person looks in this movie. Like, there's not an outfit that I wouldn't wear. Maybe that says
No.
something about
I
me.
don't know. The uncle, there was an outfit the uncle was wearing that I was like,
The white cutout thing is weird, but it's redeemed by the denim on denim with the brown button up underneath.
It's pretty sick. I
That's a
would say
really
even
good
with the
outfit.
cutout, I kind of dig it. It's
Yeah,
weird.
I think it's not for everybody, but I think you could pull it off. Like if that's the one that you like,
Probably.
you know?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like
My
again, the
favorite-
grandma fashion.
hmm
My favorite outfit was like Deb when she was sitting on the stairs and she had
Mm,
the multicolored shirt.
That
I
was
thought that was really cute.
slamming.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Like
so
the
cute. She has her little like
pastels.
pastels. Yeah. She can rock a pastel. One thing about my girl Deb, she can rock some
Autism be
pastel.
damned.
Um, yeah, it's incredible. Rex Kwon Do's American flag pants. Like I'm not
Oh
like
my
a
gosh.
red-blooded
Super
patriot,
patriotic.
you know,
Yeah.
but I would wear those every single day
We're not for
because
the
they're sick.
implications.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I learned that Jack Black almost played Rex, and scheduling didn't work out in his favor. And so then he's like, I will play in whatever you do next. And so that's how Nacho Libre happened.
I
And
I believe that to be 100% true.
yeah, I feel it in my
Yeah,
bones. Like, can't you feel the weight of that statement? Jack
yeah,
Black I think he would have done Rex for free. I think he would have paid to be Rex.
yeah, yeah.
I
Their
love
That would
him.
be
their budget would have
amazing.
been doubled by being paid by Jack Black to for the opportunity to be in the movie. But I do,
Yeah,
I'm glad that Jack Black got Nacho Libre and
his
that
own. Yeah.
Rec Kwon Do is his own guy. Because
I
Yes.
haven't seen that
he's
one either.
perfect. He's
That's
so
part of what makes the movie, like Napoleon Dynamite as a whole, so great, is because I don't know those people from anything else. None of them. You see John
I,
Hader pop up
you don't know him from
occasionally, but
Adam. Like,
no, exactly. And like it's just you truly believe that this is just a 1 month snapshot of a tiny town in Idaho that they just
yeah,
happened to catch on film.
yeah, like it feels so real.
Yeah.
And part of it is like Jack Black at the time wouldn't have been like the big name like he is now. But it's
Mm-hmm.
still like looking back and watching the movie, you'd be like, oh, it has Jack Black in it.
That's
And
Jack
it would
Black.
kind of, the star power, I think, would kind of overpower everybody else in the movie. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love that like all the extras are just like people who live in Preston
Students. Yeah.
or students. Yeah. Like they
Yeah.
were all hired for like, we'll give you an egg sandwich if you sign this waiver that says you're okay with being on camera. You know what I mean?
So
And
Yeah.
that's why they had that
that's how life should
egg
be.
oven. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
the
that's why. I do think so. I
It's
actually,
awesome.
sorry to cut
And
you off. I
I
do
love
have to go because I have to get ready for bed.
yeah.
But
What time
we
is it
should
for
do a
you?
sequel episode. It's 9:40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just 2 hours
Yeah.
ahead. Um,
Yeah.
okay.
But
So
we
should
should do a
we can
sequel episode
stop
where we
here.
actually, yeah,
Okay, yeah. No, we're on the same page. We
because
can stop here
yeah,
saying we love Rec Kwon Do, pick up at a later time, and continue talking about actually
about
Napoleon
Napoleon
Dynamite.
Dynamite.
Okay.
Yeah, this is,
I like
and
that
I feel like
idea.
what happened here was usually when it's just Olivia and I, we have like maybe 45 minutes to an hour of a just a gabbing session, and then
Mhm.
we can get into the movie. But
Yeah.
I think the more people we have, the more the gab sesh expands to fit the space.
Yeah.
And so
Makes
naturally we're
sense,
gonna
yeah.
have the whole, and like I didn't know you either, Traniece, so it's super fun to get to know a new person this way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here.
Yeah. I was impressed to just watch how quickly you bonded. Like you're like, "How's your day going?" And then 3 minutes later, you're like, "We need to have big ears. We need to like, you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
It was
I
immediate.
mean, it's easy when you're around chill people, so yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
that's
do make
true.
it
We
very
have
easy to just
the right temperament
enjoy.
here.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a very, very good person to hang out with.
So are you. All three of us are just
Thank you.
all four of us, Whitney,
We should go on
in
tour.
spirit.
We should go
Yeah.
on tour.
So
What are you doing on July 8th and 9th? Because I think we should go on tour.
I think
Guess
It's the
what?
best day ever. What?
Yeah. I passed a field that had baby llamas, and they're so baby.
That's really good.
It makes me
The
think.
whole point of
It makes me
baby
think that I
animals
could
is
have
to
a
just be.
baby llama
You could, I mean, probably not
in my
currently,
house.
not in your
No,
house, because
now.
they would grow up. No. But you could someday. The whole point of baby animals is to be so baby and make you think, I could do that. I could I could raise that baby animal. That's like their
In my
entire
house
purpose.
because that's how baby it is.
I know. But they also like they just grow up so fast, and so you would probably end up being not very good. I will ask to
Valid.
unmute, and then she can speak for herself. Ooh, how many
Yeah.
do I just keep? Can I just keep pressing it until they actually unmute?
You just keep sending her notifications. That's hilarious.
Like
What do you
unmute.
She's here.
Yes.
That's my friend.
Why
Is Traniece joining us?
She is
Or did
planning
she
to,
get
but she
scared
went
off?
to she was planning to, but then she was like, "Oh, Whitney's gonna be there."
Okay. I know I said I wouldn't distract everybody with silly stories for this recording session, but I do have to tell you that I saw a video yesterday that made me laugh so hard that I sat on the floor for 10 full minutes just replaying the video over and over again. It was 30 seconds long, just over and over and over again. And then I called my dad in tears, and he was really scared for a second because he thought there was something wrong because I was crying. And I said, "No, I just need you to see this video." I continued to cry while laughing while he watched it, and he had to pull over on the side of the road because he also thought it was so funny and he was laughing really hard. And it's a very old video, and you maybe have already seen it, but I'm gonna send it in the chat.
I've definitely seen that. Oh,
I don't know how I have never seen it. The reason it came up is because I was watching the one where the cat is overweight and is swimming, and
That's
the
pretty
news
good.
anchor loses it. Very funny. And that one came up in the suggested videos, and I was like, "Oh, I've never seen this." And like, it's not even it's not even that funny. I don't know why it like completely overwhelmed me, but I lost myself for,
Well,
I
it's
mean,
just
15, 20 minutes.
it is funny to see like news anchors lose it because they're known for being so straight-faced.
Yeah, they're
And
supposed to be
it's
professional.
also funny, like just anything is funnier when you're in a situation that you're really not supposed to be laughing. So I think the combination of those two things, like this is a news anchor who is supposed to be doing his job and not laughing. That's comedy gold.
And also, it's a disabled fish, and they named him Crispy Bacon.
Yeah.
Like, we love
Yeah.
this animal so much, and he's doing a lot of good for the community. He's helping out disabled kids. He's giving them hope and all that. But we
Yeah.
named him Crispy Bacon.
His name is Crispy Bacon.
Should we talk about Napoleon Dynamite?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I will say, having attended both of our previous meetings about Napoleon Dynamite, we have basically talked about like we've covered the costumes. We're good on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
And we have talked extensively about steak as well. So anything
Yeah.
that you want to say about Napoleon Dynamite that's neither of those two things, I think now's the time.
Okay.
That's the whole movie, isn't it?
I have comments,
Okay.
if I have permission to go, since you're kind of the discussion leader here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's okay. But keep it brief. I'll put a timer up. You have to- That way you can
Oh
panic while you're
no.
speaking and it'll be worse.
Yeah, and you'll lose your train of thought for half of the time. Yeah. No, I love it
Mhm.
when they do that.
Because you're just looking at
I
the number instead of and like
and
when I'm
it's
thinking about numbers, I'm not thinking about
going
words.
down. Yeah.
And so then I'm like can't remember the words. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I really like about the movie is that it had a very, very, very low budget.
Hmm.
And I think that sometimes having a low budget forces you to get creative in other ways. Like A New Hope had a low budget and they couldn't do all the effects that George Lucas wanted them to do, but this ended up working in the movie's favor because then it looked dirty and grungy and lived in, and ended up making it feel more authentic. You have a movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once where they were low budget, but it ended up being like a remarkable film because they shot things in ways that a big budget producer director wouldn't think to do. And it made it feel very unique. Napoleon Dynamite had a very, very low budget. They paid John Heder $1,000 to play the role of Napoleon Dynamite. And this makes the whole movie feel like
That's like $1 an hour.
That's like $1 an hour. That's how that line came out so authentic, because he was saying it from his chest.
Yeah, I think sometimes we expect movies now, like just culturally, to have a big budget, which is kind of weird. And also, secondly, not as an audience, but as a person in film, having a big budget makes people lazy. Because you can just fix it in post or like whatever, like you don't have to figure it out practically if you can do it in CGI. And so then
Yeah.
it's not innovative, it's just like kind of more streamlined in a way that makes it feel less authentic and interesting.
Yeah. And as three people who have all lived in rural Idaho, this movie, ooh baby, that is small town Idaho. You can smell it. Like the scene where he's running through the fields with the sprinklers.
Yeah.
And it's dusty. I can smell it. I can smell it. It's, and not even just like Idaho, but it just has a small town feel that anyone can relate to. A lot of people have related to.
If you've grown up rural, it really helps. Like, you're like, oh, I'm familiar with this. Even if you like grew up in the city, it's still like you can kind of connect with it. But then like the closer you are to having literally grown up in Preston, Idaho, the deeper you can relate to this movie.
Yeah.
My mom hates it for that reason.
Was that your mom?
Yeah. Unrelated but uncanny timing.
Hi, Antonia.
Okay, I'll be back in like a couple minutes.
Tell her hi.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I can talk while you're eating, Whitney.
Yeah. Well, also, I will have to go soon because people are here for cinnamon rolls for a reason. Anyways.
Oh, fun. Do you need to go now?
Not yet.
I'm not rushing you off.
Gets here. She said, "Get out of here."
Oh no, I guess you have to go like right now, probably, huh?
Oh no, get out of my sight. Yeah, no. Okay, the rural thing, brother. Rural Idaho is one of my favorite experiences. Like, I went on a hike today, right? And if you don't know, for viewers out there, Teton Pass, landslide, just slid away. Like this massive, like the entire road portion of a stretch of it, gone.
Really?
Landslide,
when did that happen?
Right? So what?
When did that happen?
Like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think it was 3 weeks. Yeah.
Dang.
Right? So that means that Driggs is over here, Teton Pass is here, and then Jackson is over there. A lot of people who live in Driggs and Victor work in Jackson. So they can't get across there, and they've been having to go all the way back and around through Alpine, which means that they have to drive like 2 hours to get to work.
That's insane.
Kind of awful. Yeah. But previously they were driving like maybe 30 minutes across the pass.
Yeah.
So easy. So anyways, I was up in that area today. Super fun, and we couldn't drive over the pass, so we went the other way. And just driving through little like Alpine, Wyoming and Swan Valley, the population sign still says 203. I'm sure they're up to like maybe 400 or 500 now.
Good for them.
Hopefully. But like, still small town, itty bitty Idaho, and you drive through it, and there's like the stoplight, in Driggs there's one stoplight.
Yeah.
Or in Ashton, they have one stoplight, but they also, one of the things that they reference is like, oh, the green silo. There's silos everywhere, okay? But they are always referencing one specific grain silo that is next to a potato cellar. And that's a landmark in Ashton, Idaho. And like these kind of things in Idaho just make me so happy because like you were saying, you can smell them. Like I looked at the movie and I smelled the potato fields. And I
Yeah.
smelled cows. And I smelled the
Yeah.
steak as they were cooking it. Like you can smell
Yeah.
his house
You can
without
smell it.
even without even having been there. You're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's grandma's house. She's got the
Yeah.
oh, my phone's gonna die. I'm on 1%. Oh no. Oh no, I
Oh
forgot.
no. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah. Okay, Whitney's gone. Rest in peace. I love you, Whitney. Um, yeah, okay. Yeah, low budget, like r- rural town. It just has a very authentic feel to it. Like the whole movie feels like it's literally just happening in your high school. Down to Napoleon being kind of um a lot in his weirdness. Like every high school has a bunch of weird kids, and like people just barely pay attention to him. He's got maybe one, Don who's kind of antagonistic towards him, but other than him, people just kind of like ignore him and let him do his thing. Very true to life. Also, I love the fact that him and Pedro are both like almost 30 playing high schoolers. I love that. And then all the extras are just like normal high school students. It If you think broad strokes helps to like further alienate them as like the outsiders in their group, and like, he feels like he needs someone who's always going to watch his back because he's also like they're both like older. But also, I just think it's so funny to see grown adults pretending to be high schoolers.
I agree.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you hear all of that?
Um, I did, and I loved it. I
Okay.
think you made really great points. Um,
Thank you.
what's funny is like, how we were talking about how Whitney had a previously very Idaho experience of not being able to finish watching Napoleon Dynamite because she had to go out and mow the lawn. I
Yeah.
had a similar thing just now where not watching but talking about Napoleon Dynamite. I had to step out for a minute. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I had to actually step out for a minute because I had to get help my dad get a bunch of lumber off the top of the car. So it's quite similar. So it's funny to hear like we're like lifting these huge like stacks of wood off the top of the car, and Whitney's talking about like how the pass blew over in the avalanche and now people have to go out of their way, and like all this rural Idaho experience. It's like,
Also, the fact that she was going to leave early anyway because her family is hosting a cinnamon roll night. That's
yes,
about as like that's maybe more Mormon specific, but that's pretty
yeah,
Idaho too.
it's pretty Mormon, but I what felt really rural about it was that she was going to leave early, but then she had to leave even earlier because she realized her phone was gonna die. That's the funniest
Half a
thing I've
second
ever
before
heard.
it
Just
actually
the like,
died.
oh shoot, I'm on 1%. I'm about to die right now. Her voice like starts cutting out. And then you just said, okay. So I let there's a very professional way to handle it. Like
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
a
it. We're moving on.
pro. I'm
Yeah,
not a
that was
news
really good.
anchor who can't handle seeing a pig in the backseat.
Like I'm better than that, but you still, I mean,
I'm
it's
I'm no
debatable.
better. I'm so I was trying to pretend, but in the end we all succumbed to crispy bacon. That's his name.
What a
Anyway,
what a sentence.
yeah.
In the end, we
Um
all succumb to crispy bacon. Let's hear it for
Merch
crispy
idea.
bacon. That actually is a good merch idea. I'm gonna add that right now.
Yay. Okay. While you do that, I'm going to talk about the music because
Please do, because we have a lot to say about that.
a lot. And I think that people don't give soundtracks enough credit because this movie would not have the impact without the soundtrack. This movie has a time after time
Hmm.
and
Just
Forever
thrown
Young.
in the middle and Forever Young back to back. Um, And the like even the like not the really popular like 80s pop ballads that we've mentioned. Outside of that, like when they just play the little like obviously they went to a thrift store and got a little electric keyboard. Like when Pedro drops off the cake at Summer's house. Even that is like perfect.
Yes, it
Yeah.
totally captures the vibe of like high school hijinks, being a little bit
hmm
weird, and
hmm
like yeah, warm sunny afternoon in rural Idaho. That's what that
hmm
sounds like. If you're
That
ever like,
is
man, I
it
wonder
is
what
what
it's
that
like
sounds
to
like.
live in small town Idaho, and you don't want to watch the whole movie, just listen to that soundtrack. Just listen to the
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
It's
And if you want it
perfect.
like no music, what does it actually sound like? Just look up a recording of like kind of frogs. Like imagine you're by like a ditch, not a creek, but a ditch, and just listen to frogs kind of, if like the hot sun had a sound, imagine
Yeah.
that, and then you're right there.
Why'd that almost make me cry?
Yeah, I genuinely like this. It's just such a like fun movie. Like we talk about how it's like just pure comedy. But then like if I think too hard about the ending scene where they're playing
Oh
tetherball and the
gosh.
sprinklers are going and the sun is going down, but it's gonna take like 3 hours for it to fully go down because it's June in Idaho. I'm like, no, nobody look at
Nobody
me.
look at me.
Like it
No,
genuinely makes me tear up.
literally, and that's what happened the other night when we were watching it together. We were like having a good time and like goofing and like this is a movie of all time. It's so funny. And then that happened and he's like, I caught you a delicious bass. And I was like, oh.
And it's funny because it's like a callback to earlier when he's like calling Pedro, he's like, how do I make things right with Deb? And he's like, well, do you have anything to give her? And he's like, unless she likes fish. Like it's funny that he already has the bass, or at least he knows where to get it. And then he finally has a chance to reconcile with Deb, and he's like, yes, couch of a delicious
Fish.
bass. So funny.
Hmm.
But I think genuinely, if somebody said that to me to reconcile, like, I'd accept it. That's awesome. This is the sweetest thing in the world.
I caught you a delicious bass. Because
Couch
it's
of a
not only the
delicious
fish, it's
bass.
implying they're going to cook it. They're going to give me a meal. That's a meal I
hmm
don't have to cook.
hmm
Okay.
And it is
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah. Bass is
hmm
good fish.
Nothing wrong with a little freshwater fish, as any Idaho person will tell you,
Battered and
frankly.
fried.
Mm,
Mm, yeah. Um,
yeah.
I love that. I love his whole relationship with Deb too. I love Deb, Napoleon, and Pedro just as a crew. Three people, I think you said this
They're
the other night, who
perfect for
have
each other.
nothing in common. None of them have a single thing in common.
Mm-mm, not at all.
Um, but they're like, and again, it's a really good vibe of like you don't really have anyone else to hang out with, and so you just kind of hang out with these people. But then, like, all of a sudden, yeah, actually, you are best friends. When did that happen?
Yeah.
It was like kind of awkward and quiet at first, but then it was like, oh, suddenly now it's comfortable silence, and now we are genuinely like a crew. You know, I
Yeah.
love the three of them. They're so
Perfect.
sweet, and this goes back to my earlier thesis from like a year ago, where I said it is impossible to mess up a trio. You
hmm
have a trio in something,
It's the
I'm gonna watch
perfect
that thing.
number of main characters.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. I think
Yeah.
the fact that they have nothing in common is almost what makes them such good friends because there's zero expectation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're not like we have to
Hey.
talk about these things or do these things or be this kind of person. It's just like they find the most stringent connections. Pedro has a cool bike, so they bond over like Napoleon's like, do you ever do any sick jumps? That's how they become friends.
Yeah.
Practicing sick jumps like 4 inches in the air on the sidewalk in front of his
Took her like
house.
four
Like,
feet of air that time. And then
yeah.
Napoleon wrecked so hard.
Oh.
not even saying real words. And I love that you can
No.
see too, like when Pedro goes off the jump, they've got they've got a block here, a block in the middle, and then a block at the bottom to set up the board. And then when Napoleon goes, they've taken out the middle board so that it does crash, and he like
Yeah.
which is
Which is
so
like,
funny.
it's funny for it to be like a little Easter egg in the behind the scenes of the movie. Like they thought it would be funny for him to crash, so they took out the middle. But it's also like, no, they're teenage boys. Like it works when Pedro does it. So then they're like, how can we make this riskier? Let's take out the one in the middle, right?
Yeah,
Like it's probably canon.
exactly. It works
It's
either
so funny.
way.
It works either way. It's funny either way. And I don't know. I think something about this movie too, like being so 2000s, um, was that Whitney and I were talking the other day about how Idaho is so behind the times that it comes back around to being ahead of the times again in terms of fashion,
Yeah.
right? All their stuff is like leftover 80s and 90s stuff,
Yeah.
like hand-me-downs or thrifted. And now that's in. But in 2004, it was like cringe, but now it's in.
Yeah,
But anyway, I think
that's true.
that like this movie being kind of a time capsule to the 2000s, just makes it so nice because like, I don't know what kids do now, but
Hmm.
we've destroyed so much of outside and pushed so much of online onto young minds.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hang out with teenagers, but I wonder, like, how are we setting up sick jumps on the sidewalk for our friends to like bust their nuts on anymore? I don't know. A couple weeks ago, I was driving down the street and I saw these like two kids, probably like 11 years old, just walking down the sidewalk and chatting, and I like was gonna tear up. I was like, they're just
Okay.
being boys. Like I was
Just
so
boys.
happy.
Dude, I had the same thing happen to me yesterday. I was walking through my neighborhood and I passed a park and a group of kids, like probably four elementary school boys,
Mhm.
yelled scatter and went on either side of the road. And it was funny because it's like I'm not a car, I'm just a person. But they were like,
Yeah,
we gotta
it's
get out of the
funny.
way, everybody. And they were all playing with a remote control car where they were playing some kind of tag
Oh,
with it. Just one.
I love
But
remote control
and
car.
dude,
Just
and
one that you have
genuinely
to
all
share.
yes, and it was
Yeah.
so because they were all sweaty and like dirty and gross. And I was like, this is literally what childhood is about. They are having the time of their lives. They can't breathe, they can't catch their breath because they're running around so much. I remember feeling that way as a kid. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And I think that your point touches on a huge part of the movie that I hadn't realized is that so much of it does take place outside.
Hmm.
At least 50% of it, probably more. And even if they're not doing anything outside, like they're just chilling on the porch or like just on the bleachers at school or hiding in the
Yeah.
fields. How
It's just
often am I
outside for
outside
the sake
anymore?
of being outside. Like we're not doing anything outside. It's not foreign activity. But like
Yeah.
Kip and Uncle Rico are eating their steaks on the front step.
Yeah, they are.
Because like where else are you gonna do it?
Well,
It's
no.
May or June, you know?
Uh-huh.
So they're out there and then it ends up being perfect because then Napoleon riding his bike outside. But
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
It
I
wouldn't
was gonna
happen if
say
they were
Rico,
inside. And I think
right.
even the scenes that they're inside, it still feels kind of like they're
I was
outside.
gonna say, like when they're at the diner.
It just has such an outdoor vibe.
It does. I thought I paused earlier because I was going to say when they're eating, but that's not right because they're inside.
Hmm.
It's just they're so close to the window and it feels like it
At the
should
diner,
be
they're
outdoor
yeah, they're sitting
seating.
right by the window.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it feels that way though. I love it. I also I think this movie
And
does a
that's
really good job
because
about what?
traditionally, the best time and place to be outside is Idaho in May and June. And I don't want to
True.
say anything about the climate, but I will say that when this movie was made, the perfect time and place to be outside ever for any reason or for no reason was Idaho in May and June.
I was gonna say something.
Yeah,
What was I gonna say?
I don't know. It sounded really important too.
It was, oh, I do remember.
Oh,
I think
phew.
it does a good job about capturing like the mean girl or like the high school bully type deal. Because like
hmm
Summer feels very self-absorbed and kind of bratty. Um, but she's not like psychologically tormenting them, you know? And like
Yeah, yeah,
Dawn is mostly just like finds Napoleon amusing, like as a object to watch. Like,
yeah. Oh, I
Napoleon,
was
what'd you
out
do this
hunting
summer?
wolverines in Alaska with my uncle. Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. Or
yeah.
like watching him in um the
Yeah, yeah.
hands.
When he's in the Helping Hands Club and Donna's like,
Yes, he's laughing. Yeah, he's having the time of his
yeah.
life. And I love that he doesn't really care about him. Like it's I feel like so many high school scenes center on the bully picking on one person to destroy them, like
Yeah, and
mentally,
they're like
physically.
so cruel. But I just felt
Yeah,
like anybody who was like popular versus unpopular, they just like didn't really know each other.
yeah, yeah.
Like it wouldn't have
And
been like, oh, that's the dumbest, least popular kid in school. I'm gonna spend my time. Like I don't know. I never knew anybody to do that.
no,
And
exactly.
so it's like, yeah, like all these like teen dramas are like a little bit too dramatic, where it's like nobody behaves this way.
Exactly. It's like it's less intentional than people seem to think it was. Like the guy who's like, "Hey, give me your money. I'm gonna go buy a pop." And it's
Mhm.
just like I literally just want a soda. And then later he's like trying to take his bike and I'll get you a bag of chips. Like, come on. It's like annoying, but it's also like, hey man, like what are you do you get what I'm saying? It's like he's
Mhm.
in the bully's mind, he's trying to be like tit for tat, but in the bullied mind, he's like, no, I've had enough of this. Cause it's like he just gets like his I'm not articulating this very well, but it's like, yeah, I guess it's just it's not intentional malicious cruelty for the sake of being cruel. It's just
Mhm.
I need pocket change. That guy has pocket change. I'll just use him as like my personal bank, and it's like it's easy. It's whatever. So I, I don't
Yeah.
know. I lost the point there, but yeah. I
Yeah.
guess
I want to
all I
talk
really
about
wanted to
the
say is like Dawn and Summer are a good example
Mhm.
of this, but then we also see the other guy with the other kid, so it's like it's not just them,
Right,
I
right.
guess.
And like
Yeah.
bullying is like a real thing, but it's also not what they tell you it is on TV.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk about that other kid who gets bullied because I know we said that we covered everything about the fashion, but we in fact
But
didn't because
we didn't
this
touch on the
kid's
king.
monochromatic turtleneck with shorts.
Hello? And the like white tennis shoes? Dude, and the
So ahead of his
glasses.
time. This is what I'm saying.
What an
So behind the times
icon.
that you revert back to being ahead of the times. Now everybody wishes they were him.
Yeah. Yeah. hmm No one
Yeah.
valued
The
him like they
red on
should.
red, big glasses, white tennis shoes.
I love him. An environmentally conscious king because
Hmm.
he's riding his bike everywhere. Also very Idaho. And I love that. Wish I
Yeah.
could. It's so flat. You can just ride your bike forever and it's no big deal because there are no
Mm.
hills. It's
Where?
good. In Idaho, at least in
Oh,
that spot.
in Preston for sure.
Yeah,
They're in the
because
valley. Yeah.
yeah, they're low. We're flatter
Yeah.
in Bismarck, but are like in North Dakota as a whole. But in in this movie, yeah.
I don't know. Probably, I think I probably had two things. One of them was that the other,
All
maybe even
right.
today, I was driving home and I passed a like kid, like I don't know, probably a teenage kid driving his lawnmower up the hill.
That's so funny.
And you do see, like, that's not
Oh.
uncommon.
No.
Like, if you gotta get somewhere and you don't want to walk, it's like, just take the lawnmower,
Take the
lift the blade up.
lawnmower. Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing, like,
It's just
how
awesome.
often
So
do
it
you see a
reminds me of
tractor
that,
driving
like,
down Main Street?
I mean, most people would say not often, if ever. I would say pretty often.
It's not quite daily, but it is several
Like,
times a
yeah,
week.
like it's not enough to be annoying, but it does happen enough to be notable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
if it was like every single time you drive, you're like, okay, I can't drive down Main Street. That's for tractors only. We gotta go around. That would be annoying. But it's just
Uh-huh.
often enough that you're like, oh, what a beautiful quirk of living on the land that not everyone else gets to appreciate.
That's true. Rex Kwon Do is super funny.
I
We talked
love
about that a
him
little bit
so.
last time. He's
Yeah.
so awesome. He's
Yeah.
awesome. What, like, break the wrist, walk away is a line of all
I do think
time.
about that a lot. If there's
Yeah.
ever anything where it's like do something, then walk away. And like break the wrist, walk away. Hold my arm. The other arm.
Other arm.
My other arm.
My other arm.
So good.
Um,
Yeah. And I love that his
paid.
wife is just a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And she's just there. And she like in real life is just a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I don't know how they
And
cast her. Does she live in Preston?
I
Like
have
how'd they
no
find
idea.
her? But it's just
She's
like
too
it
cool
feels
to
so
live in
like
Preston.
there's like Rex Kwon Do and his wife who's like even bigger than he is, and he just is like she's the peak woman. Like
He's so in love with her.
he's
He's
so in
so
love
in
with
love with
her.
her. There is no toxic, like, there's no
He's
toxic masculinity.
surprisingly untoxic for that character. Like his name is Rex
Yeah.
Kwon Do, and he's wearing the Star-Spangled Pants, and he's teaching
And you
martial arts, but he's
think,
not very good at it. And you're like, yeah, like he would
yeah,
be the like yeah, the perfect person to be like a stereotypically like misogynistic person.
yeah.
But he just isn't.
He loves his wife so much. And she can like hold her own for sure. But if he sees a guy being creepy towards her, he's like, yeah, no, okay. I'm going to kill you. And that I
Yeah.
think is like there is no toxic masculinity in this movie except for the toxic masculinity that is punished within the narrative. Like
Hmm.
there's not like a ton of latent early 2000s like women, am I right? No, Deb
Yeah.
is quirky and like she has her little dongles and her quirky fashion sense and her hair up and like she's never
Hmm.
laughed at for these things. Like
No.
Napoleon, he kind of has a crush on her. He doesn't really know what to do with it. Like, and she's treated so seriously in the movie.
Hmm.
Even
I
like
think,
as it's a comedy, like I know, but like
yeah.
she's never treated as
But
an
even
object
with
of
it's a
ridicule.
comedy, yeah, it's not like making fun of any particular person. And I do think that it is, yeah, it doesn't have that like classic early 2000s misogyny. Like every female character is pretty distinct and like
Yeah,
interesting. And they don't like, if we're making fun of any of these characters, it's not because they're a woman, it's because they like did something worth laughing at.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed that, and I think I even saw like a post about this the other day, but like it is likely because of the very Mormon roots of the movie. Because leaders in the
Oh,
church are such wife guys.
that is
And so you
true.
think that like you look at like this typical like the Rex Kwon Do type person, and you imagine that they're gonna fit into this box of like behaving this certain way or having this certain attitude about women.
Yeah,
But it's less true in like LDS culture than it would be in other cultures.
yeah,
Because all the leaders are constantly like they get up at a worldwide conference about the church's teachings, and the first thing they say is like, I couldn't do this without my wife. She's the coolest, she's
yeah,
way better than I am. She's the coolest person I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love too that they do it differently than a lot of other people because sometimes you have these posts from like celebrities, or did you hear about that guy who did the thing at the college graduation a little while ago where he's like, women are meant to be
Oh, yeah.
mothers and wives, and
And it was
you shouldn't
weird
have graduated
because
from college.
yeah, it was weird because it's like at a graduation speech, you're supposed to like commend people for graduating and looking forward to their future.
Yeah.
And it's also weird because I think if I'm remembering this right, he was raised by a working mom who
Yeah.
has a degree. And so then it's like
Yeah.
maybe sometimes
Interesting.
people could do both. Like if you respected your mom, you'd be like, I really respected her decision to get a degree and work and also raise children and be able to do both of these things that she wanted to do. And maybe I could
Yeah.
also respect people who want to do just only one of those two things and not both. And that could be fine.
Yeah.
It's like the Ben Shapiro of it all. Like, yeah, his mom is like
Like
incredibly educated. So it's like, what happened to you? What do
that
you
is
mean?
the most mind-boggling thing in the world to me, is to see the kind of men that come from very cool women. It's like
Yeah.
there is not an insult in the world that means as much to me as like your mother would be so disappointed in you. Because like
Yeah.
if anyone ever said that to me, I'd never recover. I love my mother. She's the coolest person in the world. Heidi, if you're watching this, I'm your biggest fan.
Hi,
Heidi for
Heidi.
life.
We love
Like
you.
I'm a huge Heidi head over here. But like for real, the fact that like they seem to want women to be in like the role of wife and mother without truly appreciating and valuing those roles for what they could be.
Right.
Like if you really, like you said, if you really respected your mother, then you know what it would mean to be a good mother, and that it doesn't have to come at the expense of these other things.
Right.
Like if you want to be a mother, that is so wonderful. If you want to get a degree, girl boss, go get one. I
Hmm.
personally have dabbled in college degrees. I want kids. Can I say that? Is he going to come and get me? Yeah, I know. That's
What do you
crazy,
mean?
right?
Women
Like,
these days don't want kids. They want I don't even know what people say. I don't engage in that
yeah,
kind of
I
media
know.
like
I'm
literally
like
at all, so
so,
I'm not sure what the other talking point would be.
you know, like I don't, I just, it makes me so mad because it's like your mother clearly poured her heart and soul into raising you, and you just don't appreciate that gift at all. You
Yeah.
pay her
Yeah.
back by being the worst person. Like
Yeah, it's
unbelievable.
horrible.
I just,
It's like
anyway.
when I saw this other I just have two small little things. I saw this
Yeah.
post of like somebody complaining about like when guys make a post for Mother's Day like I wouldn't be the man I am without you my mom but the man they am ain't shit. And you're like ooh. And also my other thing was I was in this I have a class this semester and a lot of it is like preparing for like further education or for a job or something like within sociology, right? So the class is kind of focused on like how to actually practically use these skills and whatever.
Mhm.
So we had like a day where we just went around the room and everyone talked about like their goals for the future and how this class or this degree will be like important for them later on. And
Mhm.
at least one person genuinely said, like, well, my long-term goal, like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I think this degree will help me because blah, 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 blah. And it was like,
Sick.
exactly.
Sick.
Like, it's not
Yeah.
like you're becoming educated and then putting that aside and becoming a mom, but it's like the education that you have enables you to be a better parent.
Yeah.
Like, so people are going to like taking these classes and like getting a sociology degree on purpose to be a better parent. That's
To
their
be a
goal
parent. That's
in this
incredible.
program. And I was like,
Like, what a way to unlearn bad habits and to break the chain of like, well, that's just how my parents did it, but then you're able to learn maybe that's not how kids function well, and like all these things. Kind of the opposite of that, one of my family friends, and he was actually the um bishop in our area for a while. He just got uh a position as a judge in the North Dakota like lower court systems or something. I don't know. But
The judge
I was talking
somewhere.
somewhere. I don't, yeah, his name is Doug.
Okay.
If you can find him, like comment
Nice.
down below.
Judge Doug.
Judge Doug, baby. Um, but I was talking with him, and like kind of he works a lot with like family cases and
Mhm.
domestic violence and like adoption and foster and like all these things. And he's like, the reason that I have been able to do so well in my career is because I got a degree in family studies. That's what he got his
Mhm.
degree in, which is what people say, like, oh, I want to be a
The
stay-at-home
MRS
mom, and so I'm getting
degree.
this. Yeah, yes,
Mhm.
yes. And like, I'll admit, I've rolled my eyes a couple of times when people say, like, I'm getting my degree, and like, that's on me, because that's fantastic if you're going to that, like you just said, if you're going to get a degree in order to help you be a better parent, that's fantastic. Like, what an incredible thing to do. But also, like, what an incredible thing to say, I value studying the science of a family and the psychology of children so much that I'm going to get a degree in that and then apply it to a court of law.
Right.
That's incredible. It's not like you don't study political science, you didn't study like economics or like US history or any of those things. He's like, if I'm going to law school, if I'm going to do these things, then this is what I want to study, and this is how I'm
Right.
going to really make a
He's
difference.
his
Like,
focus is on like child advocacy
yeah, and like
in law. Yeah.
systems, yeah, family
Yeah.
systems, and that's a man who values how to raise children and how to like be a good father and a good parent, and that's cool. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's
That's
worthy of
cool.
study. How'd we get on
Yes.
this?
Um, just 'cause.
Oh, Rex Kwon Do.
Oh yeah, obviously we got there
Naturally.
from Rex Kwon-Do, of course.
I know, I do
Because he's a
remember,
wife guy.
because he's a wife guy. He's a
Because
wife
he's a
guy.
wife
And
guy.
like,
Hmm.
he makes such a point of it, like at his introductory class, that's like a sample
Yeah.
of what he's gonna do for the rest of it. He's like,
He has a
I'm gonna
framed
beat
photo
up
of
a guy.
Starla on the wall.
Like, The Good Place. I'm very lucky to have that. Like, he
Yeah.
he's like, look at, she's so cool. She's so cool. I'm so lucky to have her. No one's gonna mess with me if I have her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I love you, Rex Kwon Do. And like the people who are creepy misogynists,
Hmm.
I'm looking at you, Uncle Rico. You freak.
When we say
Uncle
people
Rico,
who are, we
crusty
literally just
felon.
mean Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico. Because
The
even
person
Dawn,
who is.
like, loves Summer so much, and when she's doing her
Hmm.
skit after her speech, he's the only one in the audience. He's like, yeah, girl, go, like,
Yeah.
yes, he loves her.
Um, yeah.
Uncle
And he's
Rico
another
is
person that
canceled.
could be like the caricature, like who
Toxic
seems like he would
masculine.
be, yeah, toxic, but he just like, yeah, obviously he thinks he's too cool for school, but he's never putting
Yeah,
down, yeah, Summer and his relationship with her.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
nice. Uncle
Uncle Rico,
Rico
meanwhile, he's selling breast enhancement supplements to minors.
to
Not
teenagers. Hello?
several times, not just one and done. This is like a thing. He's like, oh, I know. I'm going to target a vulnerable audience who might not
Mhm.
value their bodies very much and might be looking for like a boost in self-esteem, which, by the way, none of them are. All of them are so creeped out by it. And the like, excuse me, I'm just in the middle of this. Right in front of it. All of them are like, this is weird and I don't need this. And when Deb like calls Napoleon to call him out for doing
Hmm.
something that he didn't do, but she's like, I like the way I
But good
look.
for
And if
her.
you don't think that, and good for her, because she
Hmm.
like, she's like, no, I'm not gonna stand for this. I'm not gonna have somebody in my life who treats me like that. And like,
Hmm.
this is why, because
He
I
shouldn't.
love the
Yeah,
way
and
I
I love
look.
it just like
And
she like is so soft spoken, but she knows how to stand up for herself. Like in the
yes,
interaction with Uncle Rico, she says, what are you doing?" Mm,
yeah,
leaves, calls Napoleon. I'm just calling to say that I think you're a really shallow friend.
it's so well spoken.
Very well spoken.
You
And
can
just
tell
like,
she
yeah.
like thought about it. Yeah,
Hmm.
and like uh, what an incredible, and especially in the time that this came out, early 2000s, like how many movies were promoting the idea that the girls need to look a certain way, you know, maybe not have bushy hair and thick eyebrows. We've talked about this before. Princess Diaries, I'm looking at you specifically, although I love you for
Hmm.
other reasons. Like,
It's a great movie despite
yes,
the
yeah,
worst makeover of all time.
ever. Yeah, ever. And you don't have to say that about Napoleon Dynamite. It's a great movie,
Mhm.
and if it doesn't have those issues. They were like so ahead of the time, and maybe this also comes from that like culture of, and there are a lot of problems with like certain cultures within the church. Like, I'm not gonna
Hmm.
say that it's all perfect 100% of the time, but there is
No, no, no. And
definitely a
like no
push for
group
like,
is like a monolith, you know? So it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
even if they were promoting this certain thing, individuals within it are not going to be that way. But yeah.
yes, yes. But some, and uh, you know, there have been, you know, different interactions with individuals while I've been growing, as I grew up. But looking back, I like there has always been a huge push for young women to value themselves, to
Hmm.
like know that their value is inherent, to
Yeah,
like it's not tied to anything outside of just who they are anyway. And
right.
you can definitely see that that's like kind of tied into the DNA of the movie of like Uncle Rico does pretty well selling Tupperware, but the second
Yeah.
he starts to try to sell bust supplements,
Bust
that's
must
where like
plus.
Bust Must Plus.
Mm. No, I don't think
No,
so.
yeah, no, thank
No,
you.
thank you.
Actually,
No,
go
thank
to
you. Go to.
crusty felon. Yeah, like everyone immediately in the movie is like creepy and gross, creepy and bad and gross. So
Yeah.
fast. There's not like
He should have
any
stuck with the
sense of
Tupperware
he should
slash
have stuck. He
model
was
ship.
doing well with the Tupperware. The
Hmm.
model ship like killed.
So funny.
When
That's
he's like trying to rip
uh,
the Tupperware and she's like, ugh,
side
so
eye.
disappointed in him.
And it's like, of
Side
course you can't.
eye. That's so
Oh
funny.
my God.
Really
Oh, when he
funny.
runs over it. Dang it.
Dang it.
Just pulls it into
Drives
gear, drives
away.
away. Like, you know you're not making a sale if you talked up your Tupperware enough that you're like, I could run over this in my 3-ton van. It doesn't work
Big.
like, of course you're not going
She's
back from
just
that.
I love it so much. She's just standing there. She looks so like done. And this is
Yeah.
something we talked about when we were watching the movie, just how good it is at non-reactions.
Yes, yeah, that's something that we were going to mention. It reminds me, actually, I was going to mention this to you, I think. You know that Drew Gooden video about like what is good acting? And he talks about like acting as
Yeah.
emoting versus acting as reacting. That's what this whole movie is, right? Napoleon
Fantastic.
takes Pedro's tots off of his tray and puts them in his little side pocket, and Pedro just sits there, like kind of not even looking at him, just kind of looking near him. That's incredible. And that's what this whole movie is. It's like we're cutting back to the person who's not doing the action.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Like when Napoleon is getting the time machine, and like half of the scene is just us looking at Kip going, that first
Like,
of all,
oh no. Oh no, don't do
buddy.
that.
Turn it off. And then he unplugged it. 30 full seconds of him just like watching his younger brother suffer.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Because that's brotherhood. Yeah.
That's, yeah.
And then Uncle Rico just slowly walking out of the room. I could have told you that.
Next scene, he's like limping around the Dollar Tree.
Oh.
I love
This
in this
movie is
universe
so
that
funny.
like it's so funny. That like still makes I've seen this movie 10,000 times, and that's still one of the funniest things I've ever seen in any movie ever.
And it's
I
crazy
could've
because
told
I
you that.
never, like, when I think about Napoleon Dynamite, I always forget that there's a time machine in it until he starts talking about
Yes!
back in 82, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, right, there's like a subplot where he tries to go back in time. Because it
Trying to
doesn't
go back
matter
in
at all.
time.
Like, this whole
No.
movie by Josh and Derisha Hess, like, it's semi-autobiographical, right? They're like, oh, this is what it's like of growing up in a small town.
Yeah.
So of course that's just like, because that's not usually the main thing that's going on. You would probably like hear like, oh, did you guys hear about that guy who tried to? And that's the extent of it. So I love that they kind of
Yeah.
they got that vibe of like he's just that like weird guy down the road who did you hear about that? But it like
He tried to go back. Yeah, he used a time machine. He used his crystals.
yeah,
Hold on.
I
I forgot to put in the crystals. What? Like
once again,
that
so
shot
ahead of their
alone,
time.
I
That's so
forgot to
funny.
put in the crystals. I'm literally going to pee my pants right now. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. I forgot to put in the crystals for the time machine.
And it's
Unbelievable. I love the
so funny.
mindset of the people who sold this to him, right? Like
Mhm.
early 2000s, the internet's just kind of starting to take off. And some grifter somewhere in the ether thinks, I could make money selling people a pretend time machine. And not only that, I'm going to get them to shock their dick and balls while they do it. Like, he didn't have to do it that way. Why did he
No,
make
but it
them
is
do that?
funnier because it's funny. I think he made it specifically for like brothers. Like Kip almost has like a middle child vibe, like as if Uncle Rico is their older brother, you know?
Yeah.
That's not the case, but he just has he's the person who's manufacturing these fake time machines is manufacturing them specifically for a middle child who wants to see their younger child and uncle suffer just a bit. That's their target demographic, and they found him.
That's so true. That's so funny. Yeah. Speaking of Kip, actually, we should talk about Kip and LaFonda.
Relationship of all time. As we said earlier, like there's
Truly.
no like named woman in this movie who isn't like a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
And they're so themselves, and it's like none of these people are just like cookie cutter, like, oh, this is what girls are like.
Yeah.
You know,
All of them are
they
a
all
little
have
bit
a
weird
personality.
in their own
Mhm.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. LaFonda's a little bit too into playing footsie with Kip's sweaty sock.
Don't
She's a little bit weird in her own way.
This movie has one flaw. Okay. To set up
I have
pretend you're
to
watching
say,
this movie for the first time. What?
okay, when we watched it together, we didn't watch the bonus Kip and LaFonda wedding scene.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
We ended the call that night and I was like, oh shit, we missed the most important part of the movie.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Because it's so beautiful. They're just out in like, aren't they just out in like a field?
Yeah. It also
And all their like friends and family are there, but it's still a pretty small thing because like they're out in a field.
He's just from and he's just from Preston.
Yeah.
And her whole like it's her black family who's like, what the heck? What?
Yeah, they're like, girl, are you sure? Like this is the family you're marrying into? And she's like,
yeah. Aww. Like, oh
yes,
my gosh,
isn't it wonderful? And they're like, that is one word for it.
Yeah, like it's so clear that
good for you.
You see her parents there and they're like decently happy for her, but then there's one guy there that I in my head have cast as her brother, and
I only
so
assume that it's her
expressive.
brother.
It has to be, right? And he's like,
because nobody else would care that much.
Looking around.
He's like, you're getting married in a field in the desert of southeast Idaho to a short king. He's like,
Kip is singing.
what is going on?
He's singing. This is the scene. He is singing to her about how much he loves her. He loves her
Yeah.
almost as much as he loves technology.
Yeah.
That's the whole song. It like goes on.
Yeah.
And then the guy who's officiating the wedding is the guy who that's the same guy.
Yeah. And which is so funny because we were watching it with Trinice, and I don't know if you heard this because you were on FaceTime, but he gave that line, and Whitney turned to her and said, "He just found arrowheads in the foot."
She
And I
understood.
was like, we need a translator. We need an Idaho farm translator for Trinice.
Yes. The thing.
So funny.
Because
Like until that moment, like the Idaho American accent is actually quite neutral. And if you hear like an American accent that's like on like an audiobook or something, and it's not specific to any particular place, they're often from Idaho. So people don't really think that Idaho has such a strong dialect, but Idaho farmer is like strong. It's unintelligible. And even here watching that scene, like you know what he's saying, but I couldn't tell you word for word what he's saying. It's like it's a translation, not a transliteration. You know what I mean? I'm like, he just found arrowheads in the foothills, but I couldn't tell you what words he's saying that let me know that. You barely can catch arrowheads, you know what I mean?
Over there in that pig pen, I found a couple of Shoshone arrowheads, but that's like you said.
Yeah, in the moment,
I use subtitles, and
I'm just like, I know what it is.
I used my father as a translator from the time I was just a wee lass. From the time I was 3 years old, that's what my father told me he says. And so I don't know. It could be something else. That's just what Jason told me. But like you said, it's a translation, not a transliteration, because maybe that's what he said. Is she in a wedding dress?
Well,
and this happens to me every time. There's always something going on out my window. She's in a veil.
Oh,
good for her.
Good for her.
Sorry. Anyway.
That's fine. I think that like what you say, like over there in that pig pen, I found a bunch of Shoshone arrowheads. Sounds right because that would happen. But even then is like if you were talking to somebody like not just from like the East Coast like Trinace, but somebody like outside of the United States, how much of that genuinely would you have to explain?
Yeah.
Does everybody know what Shoshone arrowheads in a pig pen, what that is? Sounds like code.
And it might be. You don't know.
And it might be. I think the greatest tragedy of that we didn't watch the wedding scene altogether is that Whitney describes Hunt for the Wilder People as the Kiwi Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, yeah.
But that scene is why. Like the Ricky Baker birthday song is equivalent to the Kip Dynamite wedding song.
Yes,
you know what
and
I
like
mean?
the rolling hills, Napoleon coming up on the horse. He rides up on a horse.
He does.
This is the greatest movie of all time. Incredible. Also,
is this also okay, just like hypothetically, if LaFonda were the kind of woman in the early 2000s to take her husband's last name, that means her name is LaFonda Dynamite, my friend.
I've never thought about that ever before in my life.
Kip and LaFonda Dynamite? That actually rocks.
Why can't that be me?
I have to change
my gosh.
Look up how to change your name right now. You're like, I'm not doing Whitney Z Borer anymore. I'm doing LaFonda Dynamite. Please and thank you.
The whole thing.
Change the whole thing.
Can it be LaFonda Z Dynamite though, please?
That's still really good. And the Z stands for Whitney Z Borer, so it's still in there.
And then Whitney Z Borer, the Z in that one stands for, sideways for normal.
Yeah,
etc. etc. We've talked about it before.
Yeah. Your name is like an onion.
This keeps going. It's 4-dimensional.
It's really good.
I want to do for our viewers who have not seen this movie, and you were very willing to play along before. So imagine that you've not seen the movie, right? Imagine you're going in for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be all of our Indian audience members who have definitely never watched Napoleon Dynamite before.
Yay!
To get into the mindset.
Okay. Perfect. So imagine that you're watching this movie that's a comedy and a very silly slice of life, and we have dorky older brother who's maybe 5 feet tall at the most. He has glasses, he has braces, he has a very sharp part down
He does.
3/4 of his head.
Slick
Very
brunette hair.
conservative. Yeah. He says, I'm training to become a cage fighter. And he weighs like
I think he weighs 80 pounds. And he like has the voice of like he's trying not to wake up a baby.
I'm trying to become a cage fighter. I'm training to become a cage fighter. Like he's
That's what I'm
6
talking about.
ounces tall.
Maybe
That's
we
what
could
I'm
get
talking
some
about.
gold bracelets or something.
Yeah, he has like
Just like
kind
the
of an
slightest
effeminate
lisp
vibe.
because of his braces. Yeah. Kind of effeminate a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And he talks constantly about this girl that he's chatting online with, a babe that he chats online with all day.
So I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious.
Things are getting pretty serious. There's this buildup for half of the movie where like he's like, she's got sunny blonde hair. She's getting kind of PO because she hasn't even sent me a full body shot yet. And like it's like he's getting catfished. Like yeah, for sure. He's getting either taken advantage of, he's getting catfished. There's something. There's no way. Or he's lying.
Somebody
like
here is
there's
lying. Yeah.
Yeah, that can't possibly be real. And then he goes to pick up LaFonda at the bus stop. She gets off the bus. The camera pans up, not in an objectifying way, but in a like a kind of a way, because she's the most beautiful woman in the world.
Maybe ever. Yeah.
Maybe ever. And you think, okay, so he was lying to her and she's going to be surprised and like disappointed. But no, she sees Kip, she throws her bags and runs at him and is so happy to see him. And like the whole movie is LaFonda has the most genuinely wholesome relationship with Kip. She's 6.5 feet tall. He's 6 ounces tall.
She's like Amazonian goddess or whatever. Like
yes, she's so pretty, and he's the comparison I made once is he's Connecticut Clark and she's Malfina, and that's going to make sense to very few people. But if you know, you know.
And I think especially in our subscribers, probably zero. That's going to make sense to probably zero people.
Yeah.
But it is accurate. It really is.
Yeah. She's a girl boss and he's a short king and such a dork. And there's also this kind of plot line where she gets him, she buys him this huge gold chain. And you pointed this out actually, that earlier in the movie he talked about how much he likes like big jewelry. He's like, we could get some gold like bracelets. We
need something to make us look official. And he's like, we could get some nice gold bracelets. But he's always thinking about jewelry. He wants to be a cage fighter. You can tell that he kind of like the way that he dresses at the beginning of the movie is not how he would like to represent himself.
And so he starts dressing with a ton of jewelry. He wears a do-rag at one point, which is so funny. In Preston, Idaho. Going out in public with a do-rag on.
Yeah.
Hysterical.
Which is like whatever. Like I wouldn't look twice, but it's also especially funny because he has like the pin straightest hair you've ever seen in your life.
Yes.
And there's no humidity. Like it's not like he's protecting it from anything. It's literally just for the style because he's with LaFonda now, so he has to look the part. And I think it gives him the freedom to finally dress the way that he wants to. Instead of having to wear like the baby blue polo and khakis that he's always worn, and now he has freedom to express himself because he's in this relationship with this pretty girl who's really nice and like allows him to try out these things, you know?
Yes, exactly. She's so supportive of him because like she loves him anyway, but it's very
she
lovely.
fell for him when he was the guy in the khakis and baby blue polo.
Yes, fully.
And he's a Tupperware salesman.
They could have framed it as like, oh, she's pushing him to be someone that he's not, but that's not at all how it comes across. It's genuinely just like yeah, I have the freedom to express myself now because he's got
hmm
a badass babe who loves him, and like, yeah, he's just
hmm
playing around with his style a little bit. I love them so much. As a kid, I thought, like, you know, you don't take it seriously as a kid, but now I'm like, I literally kill for a relationship like that.
Yeah,
How
it's like actually a
wonderful!
really nice relationship. Yeah, and
So
I think like this movie is like subverting so many expectations. Like, yeah,
yeah,
he's in a relationship with a black woman from a big city, and we're not gonna make it a race thing. And like Napoleon has this thing with Deb and a creepy uncle, but it's never gonna be like he's never gonna be misogynistic towards her. And the only misogynist in the movie gets
yeah.
banished. He gets his arm broken and he gets banished to the desert. All of these things that you might expect to happen in an early 2000s movie just like don't happen. Or they're set up
Oh,
and then they're
yeah.
like, oh, just kidding. It's actually much nicer than that. Like it's just a nice
Yes.
movie.
It's none of it feels mean spirited really. It just feels nice. Like the lowest point in the movie is when he asks Trisha to the dance and she says yes, but then ditches him almost immediately, and then he's just standing there like looking lost. But then Pedro's like, "Oh, well, do you want to dance with Deb? Do you want you
Mhm.
can dance with Deb if you want. Like we're
Pedro's a
having
rock star. And
thank
because
you,
this is the point of a
Pedro.
trio, right? Is like if your date stands you up, you already have two friends. We'll just take
Yeah.
turns. Like it's no big deal.
Yeah, it's no big.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like your sleeves, and she's like, thanks, I made them myself. The home economics queen. She's making her
hmm
own clothes, also very Idaho. Like,
Yes.
yeah, she's making her own clothes. She's got her own photo studio in her basement. She's got like all this spare material. You know she's gonna turn that star backdrop into a dress one day. You know it.
hmm You
Like,
know
I
it.
love you, Deb,
Oh yeah.
so much. But like that's the lowest point of the movie, right? Is this dance where he's like looking around, kind of lost. And then immediately they
And
pick it
like
back up with
pretending
like,
to
no,
wave
it's
at
okay.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, he's got friends. It's okay. And we're playing time after time. Everything's everything's okay now.
Everything's good. Yes, but everything's okay
Everything's okay
now.
now.
Oh, this is something that I talked about with Whitney the other day. So we don't have to get too into it, but another subversion of the expectation is that these kinds of like slice of life high school movies usually end with the dance, but they put the dance in the middle
Yeah.
because it's just about like your last like 2 months of school or whatever. Usually, like at least at my school, we'd have prom like the first or second week of May, and then graduation at the last week of May, like right before
Yes.
Memorial Day. Right? So you have prom, and then you have like a couple weeks to like I guess they have like the student council voting and they like
Hmm.
wrap up the end of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's nice that it's just framed that way. It's just like, oh, we're just starting like here, we'll have a dance at some point. But then the
Hmm.
real resolution is that he gets to play tetherball as the sun goes down with his
The
friend.
sprinklers. Oh my gosh. And
I'm
like
like,
it's not it's kind of
that's the
implied
heart
that
of
he's
the
got
movie. Like
that's the
where
heart of the movie. That's
it's
the
not
point
trying to
of life.
follow the blueprint of every other slice of life teenage film. It's trying to be this movie
Yeah.
by Josh and Jerusha Hess about their lives
S Nation, rise up. I'm so serious right now.
with big Hess heads in here.
Amen. Amen. Everything they've ever done. This one, a Nacho Libre, Austin Lands.
I mean, hello?
That movie is so funny. No one
When
appreciates
people
it.
talk about like the great directors of our time, we're throwing around the Guillermo del Toros, we're throwing around the Jordan Peels. That's all well and
Hmm.
good. But don't forget
The
Mr.
Nolans
Duquette,
maybe deserves the title more than just about anybody.
maybe.
I
And we're not
love
afraid to
him.
say it.
No, this channel, we're loud and proud Hess supporters.
hmm
Yeah, we're not going to argue that point. One more thing too, I love Pedro because, like, imagine some guy just moves into your school the last month and just through the help of his weird friend
Wins
sweeps the
the
polls.
student council election. I mean, it's incredible.
That's so good. That just that on its own is funny, but like
hmm
he it's just he's quiet, he's soft spoken. Um he's good at cows. He
Yeah.
knows a good cow should have like 4 nipples, and that's true. He's right about that. He
That
knows
is true.
that hair sometimes makes your head too hot, and then you got to shave it all off. He knows that. We all
Mhm.
know that. Um, he
Yeah,
has
I've been there.
the most wonderful family.
He does.
He's got
His
2
sister who like
cousins.
answer the phone, she's drinking her little like
Yeah.
tamarind Jarritos. Don't think I didn't notice exactly what drink that was. She's like, no, he's not here right now. She's just nice. He's got his Pocatello cousins with their like lifts on their car. Awesome.
Who never say a word. Not
No,
one word
they
of
just pull
dialogue in
up
the
when they're
whole
needed
movie.
and they disappear when their services are no longer required.
Like in a Greek myth.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they come up out of nowhere to help Napoleon get to the dance. Like
Yeah, because
truly.
like there's truly no way that anybody could have found him. There's no reason for them to know that he's there. Because he's like on the outskirts of town, like wherever Uncle Rico was selling his Tupperware, and he's trying to get to
Uh-huh.
Trisha's house, which seems more like in town, like when you see like the outside of it. So
Yeah.
it's how far is he gonna have to run? Nobody knows. Where did the Pocatello cousins come from? Nobody knows, but they're there.
Right there.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
And I
like,
love that he'll knock on the door and Trisha's dad opens it and looks out and is like,
what is that in my driveway?
"What? That's my ride."
That man's a bishop. I know that. Like you see it in his
You can
like you see
tell.
it, right? That
Yeah,
he's
you
like,
can
what is
totally
that in my
tell.
driveway? The way that he says it, I'm like, bishop. And
Hmm.
again, there are a lot of really wonderful leaders in our church.
But
But
there's rules and there are exceptions. And what are we gonna say?
yeah.
You know?
And that man is Summer's father. And when he says, what is that in my driveway? You, I'm like, mm, mm.
Hmm.
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
literally all he has. We move on to where
Hmm.
these guys are the heroes. They save Napoleon, they save Trisha for the dance. They pull up later out of nowhere when a kid is getting bullied. How do they know he's getting
Yeah.
bullied?
They
How do
just
they know
have
that's the kid they gotta protect? But
divine inspiration. They just pull up. Pedro is like, I promise you that if you vote for me, you'll be protected from bullies. Not 5 minutes later, this kid's being bullied, and these people drive up in their car that stenciled on "Vote for
vote
Pedro,"
for Pedro.
and they're just like runs away.
They look
They
identical and
look
they
him up
both
and
look at him
down.
and
There's tiniest little shake.
just the shake of the head. Nothing
Mhm.
else. And that,
That's enough. That'd be enough for me.
yeah. I
I
wouldn't
would
have
see
gotten
the
in
error
that
of my
situation in the
ways.
first place.
No, 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 no. But like if you were even in a
But
different situation and somebody pulled out, those two guys pulled up in their car, looked you up and down, and just subtly shook their heads, you would see the error of your ways. You would
I'd say, oh,
immediately repent.
I'm sorry. I'm so like truly, I'm gonna be a
I
better
should
person.
never have done that. I am going to be a better person.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
inspired
like
by
that
this.
thing when someone got cut off and then they just did the thumbs down instead of the middle finger and that
Hmm.
hit so much
It
harder. It's
carries
like
so much weight.
it's
Yeah.
the it's overused, but I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Hmm.
That it's so effective. When it hits and that the I'm just disappointed. Be
Yeah.
better. Also, I'm fascinated by this because we talked about it when we were watching the movie. Um, I I don't know where you got I don't know where you got Napoleon Dynamite from. I don't know where you got Pocatello cousins from. Like is that just like family specific lore? Because I love it and I'm going to adopt it, but like I looked everywhere and I can't find any hint of them being from Pocatello.
I don't know, like I could have sworn that they like say it, you know what I mean? But then when we were watching it, I was like, I don't, maybe I just missed it, but I just couldn't tell, you know? Okay, no, not who are the Mexican twins? Danielle and Luis Moncada, if you're wondering, they're from Honduras. But the question
Oh,
was,
I love you
Tuco's
guys.
cousins,
Not Tuco's cousins.
Tuco's
Wrong
cousins from Breaking
show.
Bad are also Pedro's cousins from Napoleon Dynamite. They might, I think they're the
Was
same
okay.
actors.
Look, I was gonna say I didn't want to see, like I don't have good facial recognition anyway. I didn't want to come across as racist, right? It's like, oh, set of Mexican twins,
Yeah,
same Mexican twin, but like they're this. I was
yeah.
like, there's like such a same guy, but like I can't tell. I genuinely can't
At
tell.
least we
That's
know
such
that at least we know they're Honduran twins, so we can be less racist now. Um, yeah, I genuinely like,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm on the Napoleon Dynamite wiki right now. It just says cousins, but it doesn't say where they're from. I don't know why, like, but it just seems like they're the Pocatello cousins. Like, I don't know why I know that. It's just so true. But it's also like it's a pretty common thing, like if you're immigrating to a new country to move to like a place that you already have a connection. So they're from
Mhm.
certainly like somewhere around, like in Southeast Idaho. I don't know why it seems like they're from Pocatello. Like I genuinely don't know where I got
That's
that. And
so
even
funny. I
Googling
love
it
it.
just now, nobody else knows either. But I think it's like house rules. When we play Uno, it's this way. When we watch Napoleon Dynamite,
They're from
Pedro's
Pocatello.
cousins are from Pocatello.
I love that. That's so funny.
And it just makes it even funnier that they're always there at the convenient times. Like, what are they doing during the day that at any moment they can drop it, drive to Preston, and just like stare some teenagers down until they see that bullying is wrong?
Fantastic. Or like, if I just at the drop of a dime. Oh, Pedro's running for student body president. Okay, no, we're just gonna repaint our car.
Yeah, that
And
actually
then we're gonna
rocks.
throw him a party at the end
That's true
with
cousin
a cake.
love, you know? That's nice.
Yeah, like this is what I'm saying. This whole movie, it's a comedy, and there's a lot of ridiculous moments, and all of these people are just so ridiculous. And Napoleon wears his pants tucked into his moon boots, and like he talks about Loch Ness monster and ligers being bred for their skills in magic, and Deb wears a side
Hmm.
ponytail, and a Kip is training to become a cage fighter. All of these people are so ridiculous, but they all get their happy endings. And
Yeah.
it's all so, even the ridiculous moments are like, if you think about it too long, it's like, oh my gosh, that's actually so sweet though.
Yeah.
Like Kip and LaFonda's relationship, like cousins just showing up randomly. I caught you a delicious bass. And that fact that he's been trying to get someone to play tetherball with him for the entire movie, and no one does until the end when Pedro's won the presidency because of Napoleon's like skill in dancing, and
Yeah.
Deb is like, they're friends again.
They're friends
And
again. And
everyone's
I
so
love that
happy.
they don't have to like walk you through why they're friends again. There's not like a big speech, which can be done
Yeah.
well, but is honestly overplayed in all of these teen comedy, whatever coming of age movies. It's kind of
Yeah.
overdone. She doesn't have to do a big speech. He's dancing on stage and she just has this moment of like, oh, he didn't send like I know him. That's not
You
him.
wouldn't have.
She just
Yeah.
comes up to him. They don't like apologize to each other. He just says, I caught you a delicious bass. And they play a game of tetherball together, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like it's so this movie, like it's ridiculous in a lot of ways, but it's really grounded just in the like simplicity of like interpersonal relationships. And that's it.
Yeah. And it goes back to that Drew Gooding video, right? Like emoting versus acting by reacting. How much do you trust your audience? How much are you willing to show and how much are you willing to leave unsaid?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're not going to explain shot for shot, like how LaFonda and Kip ended up together and why she likes him for some reason. Because it just matters that she does. We're not going to
Yeah.
say, like,
And it's like maybe she
Napoleon.
just like some people's type is just like a little small white nerdy guy. And there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong
that
with
you
that.
could
Maybe
keep in your
that's her.
pocket. He's like a tic
Yeah.
tac.
Yeah.
He's so, like, he has the size and presence of a tic tac. I love him
Yeah.
so much. Like, and the whole thing with Napoleon and Deb, too. Napoleon is just kind of a weird guy, and he clearly has a hard time expressing himself. And she knows this from, I see you're drinking 1%. Is that because you think you're fat? You're not. You could be drinking whole if you wanted to.
Which
And
is
ties
like
back into the exact opposite of what Uncle Rico was like telling her with
hmm
the Bus
hmm
Must Plus,
from the very
where
beginning, he's been saying, you're actually pretty the way that you are. you can do things differently if you want to, but you don't have to. I'm just saying that like your size is fine and your personality is fine and you don't have to change. Like, yeah, it is like an
Exactly.
awkward way to bring it up and it wouldn't land well for everybody, but she can see that like, oh, that's like actually supposed to be a compliment.
Yeah. And it is a lot. And she doesn't get that at first, but the more time she spends with him,
Yeah,
yeah, the more she sees I caught you
he's
a
just
delicious
really trying.
bass
Yeah.
equals I really value you as a friend. And like the fact that he called Pedro immediately after and was like I didn't do this, but how do I make it up to her? Like
Yeah.
he's
Like
immediately so
never
like
mad at her for misunderstanding.
yes.
It's not her fault. He
No, because
knows
that
that
was a
it's Uncle
creepy thing
Rico's
to
fault,
do.
and he knows that he still has to fix it because he's her friend.
Yeah.
Like Uncle Rico doesn't have to be part of it at all. Like he made the mess, but I'm still gonna clean it up because Deb is my friend.
Why am I getting emotional about this stupid movie?
I
This is
know.
ridiculous. I'm like gonna tear up. It's so good. This
I
and
love
look,
reading into
oh my
things.
gosh. I actually don't think we've said this before on this channel, but I'm gonna say it here and
Okay.
everybody pay attention. Like I said, I don't think we've said this before, but in order for a movie to be an effective comedy, there has to be like an emotional weight to it. Have we said that before?
Huh.
It doesn't really sound like something
Uh,
we've said.
yeah, that doesn't sound like us.
No.
We usually
We're
say
we're
like,
saying it now though.
I love explosions, and that's about it.
Yeah. Fast cars and boobs.
Hell yeah, brother.
No, but like this is why the comedy is so effective in this movie. This is why it hits so hard, is because there is an emotional depth to it. There's
Mhm.
a realness and an authenticity, a sincerity
Yeah.
that goes along with it. This is the I want my father back, you son of a bitch moment in this movie.
Mhm.
The tetherball, the I caught you a delicious bass. I love
It's
you.
like
I want you in my
there's
life again.
no um moral to the story, but there is a point. And I think it's like it's not just like silly
Oh,
goofy.
yeah.
Like they're actually saying something, but they don't have to like spell out what it is. It's open to
What a
interpretation,
lovely
but
way
it
to
is
say
there.
that.
Thank you. I
If
just
I
came up
wasn't
with that.
already subscribed to us, I'd follow you. I'd follow
Make
this
sure you
channel right now.
smash that like button and tap the bell for notifications, my friend.
I mean,
Can
yeah,
you believe we're
it's
putting out
so
quality content like this every week
for free,
for free? Hmm.
but for only $5.99 a month, you can unlock all future episodes and all past episodes on our
Yeah,
very
it's
own streaming service, womenstem.tv.
woo!
Woo!
Yeah. I didn't even think you were going to be that subtle with it. I thought you were going to say Watcher. I would say Watcher. I hardly
Just
know her.
real quick, I do want to circle back to the end, the post-credit scene, because this is
Uh-huh.
the first and only movie that's ever done a post-credit scene. Not a lot of people know that, but it
Oh
is
yeah.
LaFonda and Kip's
They
wedding.
invented it, they perfected it, and everyone was like, I don't need to do that anymore. I can just watch Napoleon
Yeah,
Dynamite when I want an end credit scene.
that's true.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's real. No other movie. Yeah, we don't have any other post-credit scenes. And that's fine. I like the world we live in. Just the one thing that I want to mention, because we did already say she looks so happy. Her brother is so confused. Napoleon rides up on a horse. That's fantastic. But after they conclude their vows, Kip goes to kiss her, and instead of flipping the veil over her head, he can't. He's too short. He puts his own head under the veil with her, and then they're there, and then he goes, I love it so much. It's so good.
It's
It's
actually
so
really
good.
sweet. If there's
Also,
anybody out
your
there
mom
thinking
goes to
about
college.
your mom goes to
Mom goes to
college.
college.
I'm trying to save up money for college. Your mom goes to
Mom goes
college.
to college. And he's so proud of that line. He ate
Yeah.
with it.
He's like,
He's like,
yeah, I should go on tour.
yeah,
They go in to get their glamour shots, and she's like,
voice. It's that scene
I
in
recognize that
Bahubali when
boy.
Badra, not Badra. Oh my gosh. bad slip of the tongue. Not Badra. I'm so sorry.
Whoa.
Trigger warning when Bala sees Shibu's eyes through the flames and the smoke in the throne room.
And he's like,
And he's
those
like,
eyes. I recognize those eyes. Yeah, it's the same thing where she's like, that
yeah.
voice. Your manga's god. Do you have some sort of vest that I could wear?
This is the perfect
Oh,
movie.
it's
Oh,
so funny.
it's funny, it's wholesome. I
hmm
might watch it again right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna
If you
at least
haven't seen
watch
it,
their
please
wedding.
watch it. Yeah,
If you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's just so nice.
it really is, and it is genuinely funny.
I'm trying to think if there are any just like little behind the scenes details. Oh, when they're at the dollar store, Uncle Rico
Hmm.
and Napoleon, few details that I want to point out. First of all, in his cart, he has that Catatonia album that we both like that has Mulder and Scully on it.
No
He's
way.
buying that at the store. And the other thing is that
Gosh.
Napoleon wants to buy the like 6 pack of chips or whatever, like it's literally not even that many chips. And what's funny is that Uncle Rico doesn't just say, "What do you think money grows on trees?" which would be bad enough because they're literally at the dollar store. He says, "Do you think money grows on trees in this family?"
In
As if
this
there are other
family,
families in which money
money
grows on
does grow on
trees.
trees. I said the 12-pack, not the 24-pack. Put it back. Get some
Put it
Pampers
back.
for you and your brother while you're at it.
Yeah, you think money grows on trees in this family?
That's so funny. I've never noticed that. I have a couple behind the scenes things too that I'd like to point out.
Yes, please do.
The state of Idaho unanimously passed a bill, uh, basically just said this is a good movie. I tried to look more into it, and that's all the information that I could get. It was
How
just
is that a
saying, "Hey,
bill?
you guys did a good job on this movie." I don't know.
That's
I
not a
looked for
bill. What does
like
that
20
mean?
minutes. I'll see if I can find more information on it, but basically it was like just praising the Hesses for work on this movie. Like I don't know. That's all I
Rightfully, but
got.
I don't know how, like,
They
I don't
deserve
understand how
it,
that could
but
be a bill, but they do deserve it. So it's like,
yeah.
whatever.
Maybe it was emotion. Maybe maybe Bill isn't the right word. Maybe it was just like,
They need to
hey, can we all
remake.
agree this movie rocks?
I have an idea, which is that the Idaho state flag sucks and is hard to draw. And I know it's because when you're in 4th grade, you have like a unit on state history. And part of that is that you have to draw the state flag. And it's so complicated because it's the Great Seal of Idaho and there's like 1,000 little details.
Yeah.
I petition we remake the state flag to just be the Hesses in honor of this movie.
A second.
Yes.
It's so
Oh,
good.
it's unanimous.
They're
We gotta
national
do it.
heroes for that. So
Yeah.
seriously. Oh, this is something I didn't know. Jake Gyllenhaal almost played Napoleon Dynamite. And let's just take a moment
Let's
and
just say a little
all
prayer
hold
of
hands and say
gratitude.
thank you. Yes, same hat always, because we don't live in a world where that happens.
Can you
Say a prayer.
imagine? Like
No, don't make me.
the cursed alternate reality in which Jack Black and Jake Gyllenhaal are in the same movie, but it's Napoleon Dynamite.
Like there are a lot of jokes floating around about this being the darkest timeline, but that one, World War
That one
Five just
actually
started.
is.
Yeah, we're not there, and we're all very grateful for it. He did
Yeah.
such a shitty job. Is Jake
No,
Gyllenhaal gay?
'cause
Is Jake Gyllenhaal Napoleon Dynamite? Why are you asking us in Narnia blog this?
I like he just doesn't have the vibe. And like maybe it's because we know Napoleon Dynamite the way that it is,
Hmm.
but I don't know. Like I just can't imagine like because the
He's
character
not
of
enough of
Napoleon
a guy.
Dynamite, he's supposed to be a nerd. He's supposed to be a little bit like, he thinks off the beaten path. He says weird stuff. He doesn't
Hmm.
have a lot of friends, but it's not because he's
Yeah.
mean. It's just because he's like odd.
Oh, yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal can do a
Do you
lot.
think
He was in Brokeback Mountain, but could Jake Gyllenhaal do that?
Jake Gyllenhaal run like this through the halls and mean it?
It's the opposite. That
No,
was way too much arm.
no.
He's doing like it's not Naruto, but it's just like stiff arm. He's keeping his torso
Fully
steady.
vertical and stiff when he's sprinting down the dirt road, he there's not a
Awesome.
soul
In
on
a
this earth who can run like
three-piece
him
suit in
with a
an Idaho summer.
corsage.
Jake
John
Gyllenhaal could
Heater could do
never.
Brokeback Mountain, but
But Jake Gyllenhaal could not do Napoleon Dynamite. And I've always said
it
that.
it genuinely shocks me that Jake Gyllenhaal and I mean, not Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger can do anything
Heath
forever.
Ledger could play any role.
Heath Ledger could have done Napoleon Dynamite.
Heath Ledger could have done every character of Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, he could have. He would have, and he would have
I
ate.
think that's true. Yeah,
He could have been Tina.
I'm gonna stand by that. He could have been Tina. He could have been the casserole.
Been Tina. Yeah, he could have been. Could have been the
Mhm.
cow. Could have been
Yeah.
Lyle. Like literally,
He definitely could have been
put
Lyle.
Heath Ledger anywhere in that movie. Yeah, he
He could
would
have
have
done it. Yeah.
given it his whole heart. Jake
Skip's like 32
Gyllenhaal.
years old. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal wants what John Hader has. I'll say that.
Hey, before we end this real quick, what's with? I don't understand. Their family dynamic is so
What's
funny.
the deal?
What's the deal with the airplane food? Why is Kip still living? He's 32 years old.
Well,
living
because
with
here's
his-
the thing. I genuinely don't know how old he is. Because Napoleon loves to exaggerate, and Kip never, he's vague. So if
True.
Napoleon says Kip's like 32 years old, he could mean 22.
I don't mind if you stay.
I don't
He
know if
could.
stay. He could
One of
mean
the
42. Nobody knows. Are they 16 years apart? Are they 4 years apart? Nobody knows. Kip's not gonna say. And LaFonda could also be any age. There's no way to
I'm
know,
just
but I
so
love the
fascinated.
kind of vagueness of it. Like if somebody's a little bit older than you could just be like, Kip's like 32 years old.
He's so ancient.
Because when you're
And
16, you're like, that guy's old. 32 is old when you're 16. And
yeah.
then once you're in your 20s and your brain develops, you're like, oh, that's like young, actually. That's a young adult.
Finally, I'm making it to 30. Aging is a gift. The whole movie is based on the conceit that the grandma asked Uncle Rico to stay with them, even though Kip is a fully grown adult.
Yeah, and Napoleon's 16, so he like really doesn't need a guardian anyway.
No, I mean, clearly
be
he
fine on
knows where
his
he's going. He
own.
could run.
Yeah, he'd be fine on
Yeah.
his own, and he's especially doubly fine because he has Kip. But then they have to throw in Uncle Rico for the shenanigans of it all. What an odd family. Like, none of these people seem related to each other in any way. And I don't mean physically, I mean like in their personality. Like, they all seem like they don't know each other.
Yeah.
Like, is Uncle Rico the grandma's son?
I don't know.
That's freaky,
There's
right?
no
'Cause
way to know.
they don't seem like they're related. They just think they seem like they know each other, but they're not related.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Seems like there's a lot about your grandma you don't know.
You don't know.
Napoleon?
Where are their parents? Like,
I think they're orphans, but you really can't be too sure. Because this movie, there's a lot of just unanswered questions. It's about the vibes.
yeah, and we don't need to know.
hmm
It's fun to speculate, but when it comes down to it, it does not matter. I could live
Just
without
vibe.
the answers to these questions forever. Just
Mhm.
vibe. Listen to Time After Time.
And
Listen to
vibe.
Forever Young. And play tetherball with a friend.
That's what life is all about. Thank you.
And we're not gonna say it again.
So we'll probably say it again later. It's
Yeah.
okay.
One more thing too. And this is the last time I'm gonna say that. And I mean that.
Okay.
I really like that Napoleon and Deb aren't like explicitly romantic.
hmm
I just like that he maybe has a crush on her. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just awkward around having a friend who's a girl. The ending is not a confirmation of like, yeah,
Of
it's not like a
anything.
big sweeping romantic kiss. It's just, you want to play me? And she's like, yeah, I really do. And they're just friends, and that's all it needs to be. It's just,
Yeah.
it's the end of high school, but it's the start of something else. And this life is beautiful, and you can smell the sprinklers.
hmm
Okay, bye.
Is Napoleon Dynamite a perfect movie? I mean,
Mm.
who said that?
We gotta stop. This is just like the time that we did the Amanda bit at the exact same time. We've been spending too much time together.
Did you see do you get the notifications when somebody's in the waiting room?
No.
Because just at perfect timing, Whitney Raymond has entered the waiting room. I'll let her in.
Great.
Why
I'm
not?
gonna leave before she gets in.
No, go
I
now,
did
now, no, 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 no.
it!
What are we doing?
Bye. I love you guys. I love you, Whitney.
I love you. My phone died.
I know, I heard it. It was quite funny.